Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and officers and guests. Welcome to our presentation of the Officer of the Month, and it's going to be Officer of the Month for October 2019 for Officer Raul Rodriguez. I think they know you. This presentation for Officer of the Month, he was selected based upon his actions on October 5th of 2019, where he was dispatched to a robbery in progress at Advanced America, which is a check cashing store on 890 North Homestead Boulevard. It was a reference to a silent holdup alarm. Upon responding, they encountered a subject outside. They quickly took him by surprise and took him into custody. He was armed with a .25 caliber handgun. He was taken into custody without incident. While taking him into custody, the dispatch also received a call from the Walgreens at Northeast 8 and US 1. Evidently, he went in there and tried to do an armed robbery of that business as well, but there was a communication barrier between him and the clerk, and the clerk didn't know what he wanted, so he ended up fleeing. Nevertheless, Officer Rodriguez and his trainee, Officer Wilcox, were outstanding that day, and they took a dangerous subject off the street who was bent on committing armed robberies. And during that month, he's aside from providing training to new officers, as he's a field training officer, he responded to 209 calls for service, 83 backup calls. He wrote 39 reports, 8 subject checks, 18 traffic citations, and 10 arrests. It was for these actions during the month of October that he is Officer of the Month.
Thank you. Congratulations. We also have a certificate from the City of Homestead, certificate of recognition, Officer Raul Rodriguez, Homestead Police Department. With gratitude, we thank you for your distinguished service above and beyond the call of duty. And on behalf of the mayor, the entire city council, and everyone in the City of Homestead, we salute you. Thank you. Yeah. When we hear about these stories, we're those of us who aren't law enforcement are reminded that there's no such thing as just another day at work. And we thank you for your honor, your integrity, and putting your life on the line out there every day to keep our community safe. And, mere plaques and thank yous and words, there's just really no proper way to express it. So again, we'll just say thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. People, I always say people know the glory, thank people for the glory, but they don't know the story. I always say that because this young man came in here in the department, and me, along with my command staff, we always try to get the best of the best. And we've done that for a lot of years in the City of Homestead. And Officer Rodriguez came in here as a police dispatcher. And he did so good in that position that he went to the police academy, and we made him a reserve officer. Well, we always monitor our people because we always say that when you become a reserve officer, you're not full-time, but we can watch you and see whether or not you are the quality of police officer we want here in the City of Homestead. Well, I think we made the right decision because not only he became the police officer after he was dispatcher and reserve. Now he's Officer of the Month. So it goes to show you that, the things that we see into a young man that walks in the department, our young lady, we try to get the best out of them. And for these guys to go out each and every day and do what they do for this city for all these years, and to help this city, along with myself and my command staff, mayor and council, to keep this city at a 30-year low with crime is remarkable. So with that being said, I just want to tell you thanks as well, because without you guys, it wouldn't be us. So thank you so much, and I appreciate it. All right.
try to keep this short because I tend to get long-winded and just go on without anybody stopping me. So at any point in time, just cue the music. First of all, I'd like to, 20 minutes. First, I'd like to thank my family, my wife and my children. Love you guys. Thank you for allowing me to pursue a dream that was a long time coming. Took me 10 years to get where I am, and thank you. Secondly, I'd like to thank Chief Roll, your command staff, Colonel Kennedy. When I was a dispatcher, you guys saw something in me that allowed me to be where I'm at today. You guys definitely fulfilled the dream of a 10-year-old boy who wanted to be a police officer, especially in the city he grew up in, so thank you. Next, I'd like to thank Captain Wright. Thank you for, again, seeing something in me and putting your trust and faith in allowing to train the next officers of the city of Homestead. Captain Rodriguez, it's a Rodriguez thing, sir. And Captain DeJean as well. When I first started, you were a sergeant, I was a dispatcher, and you pushed me to definitely go into the academy, and thank you for that. And lastly, hopefully, the last thing I say, to the brothers and sisters in blue, I love you guys. This is just an example of what teamwork is, and it starts from the top, from the chief all the way down, and we do great work every day. That's why our stats are as low in 30 years as they ever been. Sorry, I forgot. Sergeant Guzman, Sergeant De Verona, Lieutenant Tride, thank you guys. I appreciate it, and that's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bailey? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, sir. Hats off to you. So, next presentation is two stories that I would like to share with you. Pope Benedict XVI once said, "Art is capable of expression and of making visible man's need to go beyond what he sees. It reveals his thirst and his research for the infinite." Art is not only beneficial for our physical and our mental health, but it can inspire a young mind and transform a surrounding. The Southwest Advisory Committee and myself, we've been putting a lot of time towards Art in the Park and Art Walk Homestead for all of these reasons. And tonight we get to share two really cool stories with you. Mr. Ray Pagano, can you join me, please? I mentioned it here before that there was a poster on my middle school wall that had a picture of the Statue of Liberty, and she was covered in trash. And the caption underneath said, "Throughout history, many great civilizations have been buried, none, however, in their own garbage." And something about that has stuck with me ever since. And I would like to introduce to you, if you do not know him already, Mr. Ray Pagano from Energy Conservation, to tell you a little more about himself.
Thank you so much. Guys, I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. And I'm really glad to be here. I'm super glad that you guys are here. I would like to just share a few of the things that we're doing here in the city. And we're going to be talking about something very special. But before we start, let me just introduce myself. My name is Ray Payano, like she said, and for the past 18 years, I've been involved as an energy conservation specialist. I've been with the city about 10 years. And 8 years prior to that, I was with Florida Power and Light. Now, people ask me, hey, why do you do what you do? And why are you so passionate about what you do? And that's the reason. So, honestly, I really want to try to build a future that's healthy and sustainable for my kids to be able to grow up in. And pretty sure many of you feel the same way. You know, I see some kids here, and we want to be able to leave something better for our kids than what we have right now. So what I want to share and talk about today is I'm going to talk about one city who is using green education to save money and transform customer experience. And I'm pretty sure some of you have heard about this city, but I'll reveal which city that is in a few minutes. So as many of you already know, the city of Homestead is one of the fastest growing cities in the state of Florida, and probably in the nation. In the past 10 years, it's been in the top 20, 25 cities, fast growing. So that's a great thing. At the same time, it does pose a tremendous challenge because, a lot of people want our services. That just creates more people here, that creates more demand for the things that we provide, the services that we have. So one of the things that, that we pose as a city is, okay, we want to continue providing great service for our residents, but how do we continue doing that at a high level while not increasing our costs, or at least maintaining or reducing our costs? So that's where we start kind of getting creative and start looking at different opportunities on how to do that. So I'm going to invite all of you to walk with me and take on this journey of one of the things that a city has been doing. And I think we can learn a lot from this city. So we're going to talk about the tale of two cities, all right? So think of yourself as these people right here. You're working, you get home, you go into the mailbox, you open up your mail, and it's your bill, your utility bill, and it scares you to death. So our natural process is to, pick up the phone and call the utility and try to figure out, what's happening and why is this happening. And in my experience, again, I've been doing this for quite a while, it takes between a month or 2 months in order for your problem to be resolved. You get transferred from here to this department, or someone goes to your house, and just different things happen. And on average, it takes about 1 to 2 months in order for the whole process to conclude. Well, there's one city that's how they do it. There's another city that does it in about 2 days. And basically what they've done, they've kind of flipped the entire model, where instead of going through all these processes, what they do is initially they educate the customer and teach them, hey, this is what you're doing wrong, or this is what you can do right, this is what we have to offer, and kind of give the customer the opportunity to really identify what is the root cause of their high consumption. So, so I have a question for all of you. So you have the top city who kind of takes care of that problem within 1 or 2 days, and then you have another city that takes care of the same problem in about a month or 2. So, by show of hands, which one would prefer the top city? Who would prefer the bottom city? Okay, no one. Okay, good. So I have some really good news, because what that first city did, they created a program, a green program, and a team, a green team, in another word. So here's the great news about this, that this city, is really our city. The city of Homestead has been working really, really hard to try to get, really the best customer service that we can provide and take care of customers' needs as soon as possible. And I wish I could take the credit, but to be honest with you, the staff and the members and the directors that are on staff right now in the city are really the ones who have been able to take care of this and really bring this about. So I really want to take 3 seconds and just really take an opportunity to give him a hand right now, if you could, please. And I'm almost done, I promise you. So I want to give you another example of some of the things that another city is doing. But before I tell you about that, Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And I agree with that. So here are some stats that I want to kind of share with you. There are about 1 million water bottles sold every single minute. On top of that, only about 10% of those bottles ever get recycled. So they normally go into the landfill, into our water, so to the environment. And someone said, man, that's a big problem. How do we tackle that? Well, someone had a brilliant idea, and they said, hey, what if we use art to engage the community, educate them, and at the same time, really bring awareness about conservation. And this person, many of you may know that person, because that's Councilwoman Bailey. So she had a great idea. She said, hey, look, I have an event coming up. What if we create a portable water filling station that people can come and really taste the water, right? And at the same time, we can talk to them about, hey, use a water, refill your bottle instead of buying a water bottle at the grocery store or whatever. Just get your own water bottle and refill it. So we said, hey, let's take it a step extra. What if we do the following? Well, what if we create a portable water filling station made, most of it, from reusable or repurposed materials? So this is what we did. We scoured the city, we went all over, and we found this place that had a lot of wood. A lot of this wood that you see here was used in the creation or the build-out of the police station. At the same time, a lot of that wood was used to build the Homestead station, the new theater. So all of that was going into the dump. But we said, hey, hold on. Can you give us some of that, and we'll just reuse it for something else? And that's exactly what we did. So I'm going to show you briefly the process that we took. There's the police station, there's the Homestead station. So here's what we did. We collected the wood, we cut it, we painted it, we cleaned it, we built it out, and then after that, this is what we came up with. We call it the RECUBE. Refill, reduce, reuse, recycle. And if you see on the top, on the right-hand side, you're going to see 3 faucets there. And this was the challenge. We told people, hey, we have 3 types of waters. One has a filter, one has a high-end filter, and one has no filter. Tell me which one is your favorite one. So as people walked towards us at the event, we had them taste all 3. And we had them tell us, hey, which one was their favorite one. And ironically, we were kind of surprised because most people, oh, I don't like tap water, I don't like this and that. But who wants to know the results of the taste test that we did? Some of you, okay, you do. Well, before I show you that, this is what we came up with, and as you can see here, we had a canvas with, do you guys remember the banana with the canvas or whatever? So we tried to put a spin on that, and that's what we did, and that created a lot of traffic to our area. So as people came to take a picture of the canvas, we engaged them in conversation, we had them taste the waters. So here's what we found, that most people, even though they say, oh, I don't drink tap water, that's not for me, most people preferred the regular filter, but very close to that, they chose tap water. And I thought no one was going to drink the tap water, or no one was going to like it. And ironically enough, the high-end filter, one that costs a lot of money, oh, I need to get a really high, expensive filter, no one really liked that water. So in your case, if you say, hey, you know, I don't drink tap water, well, guess what? If you just have a regular filter at home in your fridge, get one of those refillable water bottles, fill it up with water at home, and maybe you can do this for a month. You know, it's a challenge, right? And that way you can start diffusing some of that consumption, some of that trash. So to finalize, here's what I would say. Education in this city has been helping us do 3 things. Helping not only residents, but the city save money. And I wish I could go more into detail, but I don't have the time. It's helped increase customer experience and also engage the community a lot more. Helen Keller once said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. I'm only one guy, and we have a small team. And even you guys, you guys are amazing, and you guys are doing a phenomenal job. But honestly, it's going to take the entire city for us to really start making a change here. So if all of us take a small step to just really start educating each other and start taking steps at home, I think we're going to start transforming this city. And lastly, if you have more, if you would like more information, or if you would like to request for someone to go out to your house and do an evaluation, check your energy, water, and your waste, simply email us there, or you can give us a call at 305-224-4738. Thank you guys so much. And if we could, let's give Ms. Bailey a round of applause, because she's really the one who's been putting all this together. Sorry it took so long.
It was close to 7 minutes. Thank you for all of your efforts. And yes, we've met a couple times. We have some crazy ideas. This was one of them, and it was a huge success. I thank you for your time and effort you put into it. Events, you can imagine just how many water bottles. You want kids to be hydrated, you want yourself to stay hydrated, and you go through so many of these little bottles. I'm looking around here too. It's just a waste, Buy a really cool reusable cup and go to one of our events and you can refill it there. So, thank you. Our second story is a short and sweet one. If I can invite Miss Emma Cruz up. This was one of our artists from Art Walk Homestead, and as the night was winding down, I was walking through, and I noticed a young lady with her canvas art. She had attended one of the canvas art classes, and she loved one of the pieces in the gallery so much that she took a picture of it, took it to the art gallery class, and recreated it. You can kind of see it up here. Hers is right underneath. Miss Emma Cruz is here, and I think she did a phenomenal job, and it was... She was trying very hard to pick her brother up from T-ball after her cheer class to get here, but as a lover of the arts, you have to appreciate that. So I'll hand it over to Miss Emma Cruz here, and she can tell you a little more about that experience.
I honestly wrote a speech because I was too nervous to be here. So I'm just going to read this to you. So art means everything to me. It's a way of escaping the world in the most creative way possible, because I'm focused, because I'm keeping my mind busy, and sometimes it helps to take the stress off my shoulders. Inspiring someone to create it is as meaningful as thinking about the first painting I ever did, and from what I remember, it was not as good as the painting she did, which was a replica of mine. And this was because I kept on going, and then eventually I made my own art. I created something different, something new, and I felt incredibly happy. So inspiring someone is something I feel deeply in my heart, because you don't know who's looking up to you, even when you think that what you're doing is just okay. Art is an expression we use to speak without having to move our mouths. It comes in the soul of every artist, and each and every one of them is different. Some look up to others, some are inspired by others, but all I know is that there is something special about us all. Today I stand here with my body full of joy because I feel good that I inspire someone to be a young artist and to create something that someday might be at art galleries or museums. Because in a world where there are many things that can be addictive, I decided to be only addicted to art. And I'm glad I inspired someone to put her feelings into something special that she can now call her own. Thank you.
So when I was reaching out to all the artists to thank them for being part of it, I shared it with Ms. Cruz here, and the first question she asked me was, did that painting sell? And when I told her that it didn't, the first thing she said was that she wanted to give it to her. So we will schedule another day where you can give it to her, because I know she would love to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. That will conclude the presentation portion of the council meeting, and we'll adjourn. And just as soon as we have a quorum here, we will open the regular council meeting. Thank you all. Congratulations to everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020 City of Homestead Council meeting to order. It's 6 p.m. This evening we'll have the invocation by Reverend Ben Stillwell Hernandez, pastor of First United Methodist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Councilman Fletcher and the Homestead Police Explorers. Everyone, please rise.
The citizens' voices are heard, and we are governed by fellow citizens. We ask for your blessings on those that have been elected and selected to serve in leadership here in Homestead, that they be filled with wisdom and discernment to make the best decision for all of our citizens, that you will remind us to look and seek out those that are hurting and those that need an extra hand, that we may follow in your footsteps of love, of grace, and of mercy. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Please join me in honoring the symbol of our great nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Left, face. Forward, march.
Thank you. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilman Fletcher? Present. Councilman Shelley?
Attending by phone.
Councilwoman Bailey? Here. Councilman Roth?
Here.
Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers? Here. Mayor Losner?
Here. Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
Yes, Mayor, there's a request for a deferral by the applicant on tab 5.
All right. Are there any objections to the deferral of the matter with respect to the Park of Commerce under tab 5? I'll state for the record, it would have been my preference for this to have been dispensed with tonight, but it appears the will of the majority is to hear this matter next month, deferred to the February 19th meeting. All right, thank you. Any further? None further?
No, sir.
Okay. Very good. Next item, tab 1, the consent agenda. The approval of the December 18th, 2019 council presentation ceremony minutes and the minutes of the regular meeting of December 18th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the items of the consent agenda? Moved by Councilman Fletcher, seconded by Councilman Roth. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Mr. Attorney. Next item. I thought he was. Oh.
Yes, this is the quasi-judicial section of your agenda. Please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the counsel to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization, and further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda.
Yes. None in addition to previously disclosed. Yeah. 2 and 4, yes.
So moving on to tab 2, Mayor, tab 2 and tab 4 are related items. Tab 4 is the second reading of the small-scale future land use map amendment, and tab 2 is the second reading of the rezoning. I could introduce both of those. You could have a collective discussion, public hearing, and then vote on the future land use map amendment first, followed by the rezoning.
Please continue.
Before I do that, anyone in the audience who's wishing to speak tonight on any of the following items, please stand, raise your right hand to be sworn by the clerk.
Please repeat after me. I. Please state your name. Hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you. You may be seated.
Tab 4 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan future land use map designation requested by Viking 162 LLC of an approximately 1.44 acre parcel from low-density residential LRU to light commercial use LCU for property generally located on the northeast corner intersection of Southwest 320th Street, Maury Street, and Southwest 162nd Avenue as legally described in Exhibit A, authorizing transmittal, providing for conflict, severability, and providing for an effective date. Tab 2, the corresponding item, is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the rezoning requested by Viking 162 LLC of an approximately 1.44 acre parcel from one-family R1 zoning district to retail commercial B2 zoning district for property generally located on the northeast corner intersection of Southwest 320th Street and Southwest 162nd Avenue as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And have there been any changes or additions, deletions since these items were approved on first reading? No further proffering?
Yes, we
Hang on, Joe.
in the last meeting,
Microphones are cold tonight. You push the button and they don't come on. There we go.
perfect. The last meeting, the applicant for the zoning hearing made a declaration of restrictions to exclude or prohibit a certain amount of uses. And we've received that declaration of restrictions. We've reviewed it, and we're fine with it from a staff's perspective, and we'll still recommend approval.
And it's along the lines and is in compliance with what was represented at the first hearing.
Yes, it's exactly what was represented in the hearing. No changes from what the applicant represented. There are about 27 different uses that are restricted.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Questions from council? We'll open the public hearing. Would the applicant like to speak on this matter?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jason Bass, I'm Managing Member of Viking 162 LLC, 8950 Southwest 74th Court, Suite 1801, Miami, Florida 33156. Nothing's changed. We got the declaration of restrictions ironed out with legal, and just any questions from Mayor and Council moving forward?
Thank you. There doesn't appear to be any questions from council at this point, so I would invite anyone in the audience who would like to speak in support of this application, I would invite them to come forward at this time. None appearing, I would then invite anyone who would like to speak in opposition of the application.
I'm actually Kevin Sullivan, 1860 Southeast 6th Court. I'm not really in opposition to it because it was determined the last time I spoke against it because you guys are all confused up here. You're saying that we need to get rid of some of the residential, so you're going to put this commercial there, but tonight you're going to put residential right around the corner from us. So I'm confused over that, but then that's okay. My question is, when it came up, one of the things the panel sitting up here didn't like that they were going to agree to have shorter hours. Now, you're putting it in a residential district, and the applicant agreed here at the last hearing to have hours stop at 10 o'clock at night and not start till 5. Well, somebody made a question about, well, maybe people want to get gas early in the morning. Come on. You're putting it in a residential zone. Think of the people that are going to be living there. There's nobody living there right now, but there will be, and proof further, you approve this next one, there's going to be residents there. So I have an agreement. I think they proffered a very good proffer, so I'm not really in opposition because I was in opposition, you overruled me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Any further comments from the public? Any further questions or comments from council on either tabs 2 or 4? None appearing. I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion for approval on tab 4 first. I have a motion by Councilwoman Bailey, second by Councilman Fletcher. Any further questions or comments from council? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough? Stigers? Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. So now tab 2, motion for approval moved by Councilman Roth, second by Councilman Fletcher. A roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Fletcher? Yes. Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Vice Mayor Fairclough Stigers? Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations.
So moving on to tab 3. Tab 3 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting site plan approval for a 16 dwelling unit single-family residential subdivision on an approximately 3.7 acre parcel for property located south of Northeast 3rd Court, east of Southwest 162nd Avenue, west of the Homestead extension of the Florida Turnpike, and north of Southwest 320th Street, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Anything further from planning staff?
Sir, we were recommending approval of this. It originally got approved in October of 2018, and the council deferred it back then in November of 2018 and requested the applicant go back, work with county staff because there was a lack of a left turning lane at the entrance of the project. The applicant's done that. They've come back this application with a technically approvable site plan. From our perspective, from the zoning perspective, is still there, and this plan has been revised to show a left turn lane now and a median cut along 167th entering the property. So they've accomplished what we set out, what we asked them to, so we're still recommending approval.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council? Mr. Shelley? Did Mr. Shelley have a question or comment? No? Okay. All right.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah. Did you have a...
My question related to the turn lane and how it interacts with the, I guess, the improved signal that we're going to have put up there, because I don't know if the turn lane was approved before the signal, and how one will interact with the other, being the close proximity. Has that been looked at and evaluated?
Mr. Arza?
Good evening, Hugo Arza, 701 Brickell Avenue. I'm not sure, Councilman Shelley, good evening. Not sure if the question was directed at me or staff. I would assume that it's directed at staff. I mean, for this project, the applicant, as Mr. Corradino noted, went through and secured approvals for the southbound left turn lane, which obviously is to the north of both the property that you all just voted on, you know, the last two items, and then this property. So, I mean, there are obviously several hundred feet between the intersection at 320 and the entrance that we are now creating at the council's request from back in October of 2018. The county will review the plans in greater detail, but I don't know if staff or public works staff may have more information as to that coordination.
I can add to that. The county's department, Public Works Department reviewed it, and as such, they made sure that all the technical engineering details were worked out. It's the proper distance from the intersection, and I'm not quite sure if they evaluated with or without a signal, but I'm not quite sure that also makes much of a difference. As long as it's a certain distance from the intersection, doesn't create any operational concerns, then they would approve it, which they have. They said it's okay, so we're comfortable with it.
Thank you, Mr. Corradino.
You're welcome.
Anything further, Mr. Arza?
No, nothing at all. I mean, we jump right into questions. Again, as Mr. Corradino noted, this is a site plan that was once previously approved. It came back to this council. This council requested that the applicant, go to the county and talk about it. If you know 162nd, I'm sure most of you do, there's a median that basically, for the time being, had prevented a southbound left turn lane into our property. What that required was for the residents of this community, if they were coming from the north, if they were coming from Campbell from 312, they'd have to get to 320 and make a U-turn. That movement was considered somewhat unsafe. There was a lot of evidence, anecdotal evidence. People knew accidents that occurred. So we were asked to go back. We did. It took us 14 months because nothing at the county ever goes by very quickly. But here we are in January of 2020 with an approval to have a left turn into our property. So now anyone coming from the north for the 16 single-family homes, R1, full-size lots, no variances, they'll be able to simply access our property, make a left turn lane into the community. We would hope for your favorable approval. This is the same father and son group that is developing and has developed the 25 homes just to the north. So they'll continue basically building out the last 16 homes of this area. And it's a beautiful project, and we hope you can support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arza. Anything further from council before I open it to the public? Thank you. Would anyone in the audience care to speak in support of the application? Anyone in opposition to the application? Okay, we'll close the public hearing then and entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Any final comments from council? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers? Yes. Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
all. Good evening.
So that concludes the quasi-judicial portion of the agenda. Is that correct? Yes. All right. Mr. Attorney.
Mayor, this is tab 6.
Tab 6. Yes.
This is the Roby George Park and Mayor Roscoe Warren Park improvements. Staff recommends that the mayor and council authorize the city manager to award invitation to bid number 202012 to the following bidders. Bid item number 1, Roby George Park locker rooms flooring to Waypoint Contracting, Inc. for the amount of $30,447.41. Bid item number 2, equipment purchase and installation of main pool filter system at Roby George Park to Sun Eagle General Contractors Corp. for the amount of $38,000. And bid item number 3, outdoor picnic tables and benches for Mayor Roscoe Warren Park to Sun Eagle General Contractors Corp. for the amount of $44,000. The award of this bid is for the replacement of the 12-year-old main pool filtering system and 25-year-old men's and women's locker room flooring at Roby George Park, and the replacement of the 10-year-old picnic tables and benches at Mayor ROSCOE Warren Park. Both projects are funded through CDBG JET grant B18MC120055.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from council? Questions from council? No. And again, if the public didn't catch that, these are being funded through grant awards from higher entities. These are not our local tax dollars
Yes, sir.
being utilized. These were grants that staff obtained to what appears to be do some deferred maintenance and renovations and normal replacement of park equipment. Would any member of the public like to speak on this item? Okay, we'll close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for approval of tab 6. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Roth. Roll call vote.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Tab 8.
Tab 7.
Yes, 7.
Yes, Mayor. This is street resurfacing. Staff recommends that the mayor and council authorize the city manager to award ITB number 202004 to H&R Paving, Inc. for street resurfacing on an as-needed basis and within established budgets. This agreement will expire on September 30th, 2022, with the option to renew for 2 additional one-year periods upon the same terms and conditions and mutual written consent of both parties. The project is part of the city's capital improvement plan, CIP number 004 and 0076. The award of this bid is to establish a contract for the as-needed improvements of roadway services areas throughout the city.
Thank you. Anything further from staff on this? Any questions from council? I had a question. Clearly, this was written on as an as-needed basis, and again, this is almost a 3-year contract for routine, I guess you call it asphalt repairs, roadway
Yes.
repairs, patching, fix the potholes, as they used to say, for almost a 3-year period. And while there's I guess the limit that is, or the bid amount that's in here, what I was a little confused about is some of this was based upon an estimated quantity to be used over 3 years. In soliciting this, did staff already identify some projects, or is this truly moving forward as needed?
It is moving forward as needed. There aren't identified projects, but it's as needed, as you said, fixing those potholes as needed.
Right. As I was just looking at on the bid tabulation, where one of the columns talked about estimated quantity of square yards or tonnage or what have you, and that's how the dollars were ascribed to this contract. So that, to me, really didn't reconcile with as needed when they were already estimating what the cost would be. Mr.
And
Brea?
actually, Julio can speak to that
Yeah.
because of the history
Okay.
of how it's been needed in the
Mr. Brea?
past.
Mayor and Council, the reason we put an amount for the different line items is to have a comparative basis so that if more than one company bids, we can then look at the prices, comparative to the one next to it. That amount that we put for the 3 years is based on a 3-year average that we did for the last 2 years. It doesn't mean we're going to spend that money. It just means it was a way for us to come up with a bottom line number that then we can do a
Apples to
competitive
apples
bid.
comparison.
Exactly, competitive
All
bid
right.
between the
Very
3
good.
companies.
Thank you, Mr. Brea. Okay. Mr. Roth, let me,
Thank you, Mayor. Julio, there are certain parts and certain intersections that continuously need repairs done. Will this cover that, and not just to go in there and just put asphalt in and cover up the hole so that 6 months later we got to go back and do the same thing? I mean, there especially on I want to say is Farm Life and South Canal, where the school is, that 4-way intersection. right in the center continuously needs to be repaired. So would this maybe go in and solve that problem? They cut out the asphalt, put a big patch in there, and make sure that, you know, we don't continuously have to go out there every 4 or 5 months to fix that.
And that's the idea for this, exactly, is for that type of project. We have over, I think it's like over 45 items on this to cover any type of condition or any type of level of repair that needs to get done. Everything from subgrade, grade, fill, painting, all that is included here on a unit base so that we can make sure that we're paying for what is being done. But yes, it can cover that.
Great. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Anything further from council? All right. Would anyone in the audience care to speak or ask any questions on this matter? Not appearing, I'll close the public comment portion and entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Mr. Roth, Councilman Roth. Seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Fletcher? Yes. Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough Staggers? Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Tab 8.
Tab 8, Mayor, is pump and electrical motor repairs. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to award ITB number 202002 to the 3 qualified bidders: Flanders Electric Motor, Dunright Pumps, Inc., and Condo Electric Motor Repair, Inc., for the repair and/or replacement of various pumps and electric motors on an as-needed basis and within established department budgets. This agreement will expire on September 30th, 2022, with the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year periods upon the same terms and conditions and mutual written consent of both parties. The award of this bid is to establish a contract for the as-needed repair and/or replacement of various pumps and electric motors citywide for the city's public works and electric utilities departments. Staff believes that it is in the city's best interest to award the bid to multiple vendors in order to maximize response times and flexibility.
Thank you. Anything further from staff on this matter? Any questions from council? Any questions or comments from the public? We'll close the public comment and entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Councilman Fletcher. Seconded by Councilman Roth. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Fletcher? Yes. Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Roth? Yes. Vice Mayor Fairclough Staggers? Yes. Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Tab 9.
Mayor, tab 9 is the purchase of various equipment and financing through City National Bank. Staff recommends that the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase equipment software for several city departments as outlined in the attached Exhibit 1 Purchase Summary Memo. All purchases are for equipment, products, and services approved as part of the city's capital improvement plan and will be financed through the City National Capital Finance, Inc., CNCF, master lease as part of this approval. All purchases are in accordance with existing contracts and as such are exempt from the competitive bidding process pursuant to City Code Section 2-411.1A5. Part of this approval award of contracts to, part of the approval is award of contracts to the listed vendors. Total approximate cost of the purchases to be financed is $301,740. Annual lease payments will be $63,697 over 5 years for all equipment and will be financed under the City National Capital Finance, Inc. Master Lease Purchase Agreement as per city's previous practices. The annual payment for the fiscal year 2020 will be $31,389 with quarterly payments to CNCF starting in May 2020. Funding for the equipment is from various sources. In order to ensure that the local vendors had an opportunity to participate in this vehicle purchase, the Procurement Division issued a request for information to local vendors and no responses were received.
Thank you. Is that it with respect to staff comments? Any questions from council on tab 8? Tab 9, I'm sorry. Or tab 8?
9.
All right, 9, okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? None appearing. I'll ask for a motion for approval.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I just read the resolution into the record?
Sure.
We skipped ahead of that.
Wait.
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the purchase of storage area network equipment from CDW-G for the ITS Division of the General Services Department, 1 forklift from Kelly Tractor for the Procurement of Division, General Services Department, 1 Ford T250 Facilities Cargo Van from L&J Fleet Sales for the Parks and Recreation Department, and 1 Ford F-150 from Duval Fleet Sales for the Development Services Department pursuant to City Code Section 2-411.1A5, exemptions from competitive bidding, providing for financing of all purchases pursuant to the City National Capital Finance, Inc. Master Lease, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Now, do we have a motion to approve this resolution? Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher? Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers? Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Tab 10.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 10 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the purchase of various vehicles for the Homestead Police Department, including 1 Dodge Caravan wagon, 1 GMC Sierra 1500, 1 Chevy Silverado from L&J Fleet Sales, 1 Ford F-250 Animal Control Vehicle, and 1 Ford F-350 from Duval Street Fleet Sales, and emergency equipment for all vehicles from Strobes R Us pursuant to City Code Section 2-11.1A5, exemptions from competitive bidding, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council on this matter? Okay. Now, did I read this properly, that we are adding 2 detective positions from within the department? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And that's the reason for
Yes, sir.
two of the vehicle purchases. Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from the public? Did you read the resolution now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Start with the title.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of tab 10. Moved by Councilman Fletcher. Seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers? Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Tab 11.
Yes, Mayor. Tab 11 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, accepting and approving agreements with Johnson Controls, Inc. for services for the HVAC, mechanical, and control panels for the Seminole Theater, authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, this is the item, the JCI item that came before council before, and when staff had made that recommendation, and one of the things the council asked for was for the price of the basic maintenance program, which is included in the card, but the basic option totals $72,939 for a 3-year agreement that does not include fees for service labor and parts. Annual costs, year 1 would be $23,598, year 2 would be $24,306, and year 3 would be $25,035. As you know, the Seminole Theater operates 7 days a week, repeatedly has events catering to over 400 patrons at any one time. Staff is still recommending the city move forward with the JCI premium package. However, in light of the council's concerns, there's a couple of things that you could do. You could do 1 year with basic and hope that we don't have a lot of repairs, and/or we could even have someone look at this system and ascertain whether it is the best system, because the reality is it's a very expensive system to maintain. We know that. And we want to make sure that it's operating 7 days a week. But if you wanted us to have someone independently look at it and make an assessment, we could do that as well.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank city staff for going above and beyond and answering those questions that I had. I still have a problem with signing a 3-year contract for this particular item. I would be amenable to signing a 1-year contract at the increased rate to ensure that we're meeting the standards for maintaining that system, but and looking at different options. Sorry for not speaking in the microphone, folks. Looking at different options for year 2 and year 3, or possibly having somebody come in and giving us a good estimate on what it would cost to replace that system wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fletcher. Did you have something else?
No, sir.
Any further questions or comments from council? Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councilman Fletcher. I would be comfortable with that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So to clarify then,
So-
Councilman Fletcher, your proposal would be to authorize going with the 1-year premium package?
Yes.
And the cost for that would be?
$36,122.
And that includes
It includes,
extraordinary service calls and parts,
Yes.
correct?
yes, sir.
All right. As much as I hate to admit it, in comparison to what we spent the first few years maintaining it, as government money goes, that's fairly reasonable. Vice Mayor.
I have just two questions. Isn't this the only vendor that can repair or provide repairs to this system?
Yes.
So my next question is, Councilman Fletcher, you mentioned that you still have some concerns. What concerns do you have that are still lingering to help me understand the rationale for a 1-year agreement?
Okay, the biggest concern I have is we live in South Florida where there's numerous companies out here with multiple different types of air conditioning systems, and we chose to go with one vendor from an hour north of here, or somebody chose at one point in time to go with a vendor hour north of here, and based off of my look into the issue and having discussions with other people who have buildings of larger sizes that have spent less money on their air conditioning systems than we spent on the Seminole Theater, to the tune of about a quarter of what we spent on the Seminole Theater. I think it'd be prudent that we look at different options. Maybe this is the end-all be-all currently, but I think we need to look at just going with a 1-year term and then going back and reviewing that with members from staff and even other outside vendors to see if there's a replacement process.
So in light of that, of Councilman Fletcher's indication that there are other vendors north of here that can provide this service, why is it that we only have one vendor, or under the impression that there's only one vendor to repair the system?
Well, let me clarify. This is the vendor of the equipment that we currently have. What I'm stating is I think we could long-term look at replacing this system with someone from a local vendor somewhere in Miami-Dade County with a national brand name that is serviced by multiple people, several different organizations other than just one person to go to.
Do you have the cost analysis for that?
No, but that's something we can look at in the first year. I'm just basically saying we can approve a 1-year term, and we can always come back to this next year and approve a second and a third year.
Okay.
I'm just looking at a 1-year for the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments from council? Councilwoman Bailey, were you? No? Okay.
And just to clarify, Mayor, if I understand correctly, in addition to the premium for 1 year, we will also be looking at the system itself to see if there's a more appropriate system for that facility. Is that correct?
Well, as I understood, Councilman Fletcher, kind of an analysis of further analysis of what our risk may be, given that type of system, the age of the system, and the history of repairs on that system. Is that,
Okay.
that a fair assessment, Councilman Fletcher?
Yes, sir, that's a fair assessment.
Okay. All right, so would you like to make a motion?
I'll move approval for a 1-year premium package and staff to look at different alternatives for out years.
Thank you. Your second to that? I have a second by Councilwoman Bailey. Are there any final comments from council? Yes, Vice
Not
Mayor.
a comment, just a recommendation. In addition to that, just be sure to have a cost analysis of how much it would cost to revert to another system. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Roll call vote, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Councilwoman Bailey?
A comment.
I thought I called for public comment. If I didn't, I'm sorry. If you missed it, come on up.
Hi, happy to be back. I'm glad you're able to get together. The whole week you guys were not able to get together, so it's good to see you all in one place. Amazing how that works. Never follow somebody about these things. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my experience. Electrical engineering degree, little University of Michigan. I spent my career with Train Air Conditioning. You probably remember them. It's hard to stop a train. And Seminole Theater, I emailed you, Mayor, I said, that system is as close to residential as you can get. You got a switch, you turn it on or off. You can tweak it with energy management systems. You can do downloading. You pre-cool, so when they come in, it's cool. And then as they fill up, you lose it like you do in a church, okay? My recommendation, Johnson Controls, I fought with them forever. They're a large company. They're heavyweight in expenses. They're a union company. First of all, you have a lot of local people. That system, if it's chill water, if it's DX, it's not a big deal. I engineered Homestead Hospital. I did all the environmental controls. Now, you want to talk about a complicated system? The hospital. What you need to do is hire yourself a combination air conditioning, electrical. Hire them on staff. You have a lot of work that goes on in the city with non-licensed people. Non-licensed, okay? You could take that person, give him $50,000. He could work on everything in your city besides the theater. So you've got a guy who's not sitting there saying, like Baytag, when's the phone going to ring so I can go to Seminole Theater? You got a guy full-time working at all your facilities. You're using him full-time, and you're only paying him $50,000. Thank you. That's my input.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Ready for roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Sir. Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Before we proceed, the next item, item 12, is Homestead Stone Crab and Seafood Festival, presented by the Rotary Club of Homestead Charitable Foundation. As a 20, almost 30-year member of the club and a member of the board of directors of the Rotary Club of Homestead Charitable Foundation, I have a conflict of interest, and for this matter, we'll leave the room and turn the meeting over to Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers.
Vice Mayor, this is an item for discussion. Staff is seeking direction with respect to the Stone Crab and Seafood Festival. The Homestead Rotary Club is requesting a presenting sponsorship from the City of Homestead through the use of the city's logo and advertisement in order to help promote and produce the third annual Homestead Stone Crab and Seafood Festival, which will be held in the Homestead Sports Complex on Saturday, February 28th and Sunday, March 1st, 2020. No direct funding is being requested by the Rotary, which will be paying the $1,000 special event rental fee as required by code. As part of the city's sponsorship, the city is providing generators, 3 part-time employees for trash removal, and access to a water connection for vendors. In addition, the Rotary has offered to donate $3,000 to the city's Parks and Recreation Department. Attached as Exhibit 1 is the Rotary's letter, including a proposed site plan for the event. Staff is seeking direction from council on how to proceed. The City of Homestead has participated in the past as a presenting sponsor for the 2018 and 2018 Homestead Stone Crab and Seafood Festival, which have been successful events with thousands of patrons in attendance. The event helps the Rotary continue its mission in bringing college scholarships to local youth. Tickets to the event will be $10 for all persons 13 and older. The event hours will be 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday, the 29th of February, and 11 to 5 on Sunday, March 1st.
Thank you. Is there a representative from the Rotary here? Would you please state your name and address for the record and give us some more information about the Seafood Festival?
Thank you for having me, giving me the opportunity to get up here. My name is Phil Maricini. I'm president of the Rotary Club of Homestead, and we are proposing this signature event to continue on, which not only are we showcasing Rotary, but we're showcasing the city of Homestead because we draw people from all over the county. And it's run by professional people, and I believe you have our list here. Let me read you a couple things. We have secured the police, we have fire and all requirements made, and we would like to continue this function. It is a fundraiser for our group, but the funds that we raise from this group, any profits we make, are used back into the community. And we gave away last year $42,500 worth of scholarships. So we would like to continue this function and work with the city of Homestead. And previous can see that we left the field and everything in great shape.
And I understand that you are requesting sponsorship from the city. However, you are providing a contribution to our Parks and Recreation Department of $3,000.
Right. We do work with the Park and Recreation, and must I say, they're very professional, and they've been very good to us.
Okay. I've attended for the past 2 years. It's been a very successful event. I initially had the conversation with Dale when we were at the Key Largo Seafood Festival. We talked about bringing it to Homestead, so I'm happy that this has come to fruition. How many would you say have attended over the past 2 years?
Well, I'm going to say last year was...
It was rainy last year.
It was the worst weather that we've had at that time of the year, and it still was even a little bit more successful than the year before. So our goal, I'm going to say our goal, and you know, I can't pinpoint it exactly. Our goal this year is probably to get 10 to 12, maybe 15,000 people to come out. And we will have vendors and different things, functions, a kids zone. So
when can we anticipate a list of the vendors that will be present? I've been going onto the site. It still says coming soon. When will we know who will actually be present at the Seafood Festival?
When will who, what?
When will we know which vendors will be at the Seafood Festival?
Well, we have two people working. We have a group working with the food vendors, and then we have another group working with the merchandise vendors. And our goal is to get between 30 and 40 merchandise vendors, and we're almost booked with all the food vendors. We're trying not to do a lot of duplication, so everybody's happy.
I know that has been some concern for some of our local vendors who would like to participate. In fact, someone contacted me about a week ago indicating that for the past 2 years, they have attempted to be a part of the festival, but have not been successful. So for those local vendors that would like to participate, who should they contact, and is it too late for them to contact anyone?
It's not too late. We have a website, and they could go on the website, homesteadseafoodfestival.com, and the vendors' applications are on there, both for the food vendors and the merchandise vendors.
Okay.
So it's very, very simple process for them to do it. The fees are all explained on there, very reasonable fees. I was just down at the Key West Seafood Festival, which probably had 25% of the number of people attending that we had, and their vendor prices were much higher.
Okay.
So this is what we're looking to do.
Right.
We're looking to showcase Homestead. We're trying to do advertising up towards Miami and bring people down here to see what we have. Because there are a lot of wonderful events going on in Homestead that people don't know about.
It is, and thank you so much for helping to spearhead this. I think it's incredible for our city and something that I definitely support. Do we have any comments or questions from council? So is it a fair statement to say that we support the city of Homestead being a sponsorship and using our likeness to promote this event? Do you have the direction that you need?
I do. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Sorry. To get back into the swing of things. Okay. I'm pressing.
Okay.
No, you don't. You're not hot. Maybe my fingertips are too cold. There you go.
Okay. I'm going to request a vote on this just because I know there's been some questions in past about the use of the logo. I just want to make it clear that we have the authorization of the council here.
Let's vote.
So if I can have a vote, I'd appreciate it.
Yes.
If there's a motion, I understand there's a consensus, but if I can have a motion and a vote.
Motion to approve? Move it. It's been moved by Councilman Roth and properly seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Roll call, please.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Fletcher? Yes. Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough Staggers?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look
I
forward
look
to the
forward to
event.
working with you.
you, Vice Mayor. All right, tab 13. Councilman Shelley. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we?
Got ahead of myself. Okay. This is now the public comments section of the agenda. I have the request cards, and I will call the names in the order in which they were clocked in by the city clerk. The first is Susan Sorrentino. Okay. Lorenzo Chin, come on down. Please give us your name and address for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. And while you're coming, I'll say that Vera Ray is up next.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lorenzo Chen, address 4020 Northeast 14 Drive. I'm here standing in front of you just to talk to you a little bit about the council person that you should choose tonight. Be Walter Jenkins. He been my neighbor, my friend, my companion for many years. I got to learn his heart into the community. I got to see how truthful he been and in and out with many of our neighbors. We do gatherings almost every month. We've been together, I would say more than 5 years, 6 years around. And I'm just standing here because I would like to see moving forward tonight with our new councilman, if that's possible. This is my first time here, so bear with me. It's a little unnerving, so. And I just want to say, Walter, been a man of church, a man of God, and I've seen many things time to time that when something comes up, no matter what, he always stand his hand. He always reach out to the community. He always, honest with himself, and I believe that he'll be a figure for this community and for all of us to work with one another, not just one part or the other, but work all together. And that's what I have to say for tonight. God bless everyone, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Vera Ray. Vera Ray. Okay. Edna Marie Hernandez. Is Edna Marie here? Okay, good. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Edna Marie Hernandez, 123rd Avenue, Southwest, Miami-Dade County. I'm going to start off for retired Captain Sheila Johnson. She was actually hoping to go first, but I'll start this off. On December 25th, she lost her mother from a long illness. She was also retired from the city of Homestead as an employee here. She was kind and compassionate. She cared and comforted people in the community. Between retired Captain Johnson, her husband, and her mother, they had 81 years of combined employment with the city of Homestead. That's 81 years. Tonight, I'm going to address the issue that needs to be brought to everyone's attention and a disparate treatment that continues to go on even after her retirement from the city. Police is a career of dedication, sacrifice, and loyalty. They've taken an oath to enforce the law and uphold the Constitution. The oath that was taken is an abstract bond, no matter the religious beliefs, political affiliations, or personal disagreements. The professional ethics towards each other is a cornerstone of the profession, regardless of disagreements. On December 31st, her mother was laid to rest. The only request that she made to the city was a funeral escort. During her 33 years of service, she's volunteered many times and done escorts for other employees, including the chief's relatives. She has never ignored or denied that to anyone, but she was denied that. As many of you know, her final years with the city was not an easy one. The chief's personal dislikes for her were not because of her lack of performance or her dedication or professionalism to the department, but her ethical standards, which she refused to compromise. Disregarding being left at the radon-infested building for weeks after everybody else was moved on to the temporary station, it was poorly announced by the city manager. The chief stood by aware and left her at the old station. She finally was directed to move to a 6x6 electrical room and told that that was going to be her office because that's all the room that they had in an 80-acre facility for her. The cruelty continued. She didn't say anything when she resigned. When she was resigned to the hospital and the comment was made, "That's a good place for Lieutenant Johnson, you know how those women are." She didn't say anything when her request of continued service as a reserve officer was denied. She was not afforded the opportunity to qualify for her HR 218 concealed gun license as other retirees were afforded. She'll continue.
Thank you. Okay, the next clocked in is John Alger. John, are you here?
Good evening. My name is John Alger. My family has had a business in Homestead since 1934. As a businessman, as a citizen, as a victim of an armed robbery, as a victim of theft and vandalism, Homestead Police have always been there for me. When you call them, the cavalry's coming. It's nice to know the cavalry's coming. Chief Roll's been the leader of that cavalry for 22 years. I've got a great relationship with the police department and the chief, and I support them. Thanks, Homestead Police.
Craig Pierce. Craig, are you here? Okay. Sheila Johnson.
Hi, good evening. Retired Captain Sheila Johnson, Southwest 202 Avenue, Homestead, Florida. I'll continue on. I was denied the right to the HR 218 concealed gun license, just as has been denied to select other retirees, only because of personal dislikes for them, yet afforded to so many other retirees. These are just a few of the examples of treatments that continued on. This, however, is the one time I will not ignore or overlook the vindictive pettiness, the lack of respect, Chief Roll, that you have shown my family by not fulfilling the request of an escort from my mother, who served this community with kind and sincere heart, will not go unnoticed. In many eyes, you have tarnished the badge and disregarded and disgraced the police department with your lack of professionalism and biased action by refusing the last final act of respect that could be shown to my mother as a continued personal vendetta directed at me. Your self-righteousness and continued vindictiveness carried out through your position will ultimately lead to your professional undoing. You do not own your position, nor do you own the police department. The people do. You have lost my respect and the respect of many people in this community. You have failed to weaken me. You should be ashamed of your actions and lack thereof. I will remind everyone, when you use a respected, powerful position to carry out despicable acts and vendettas, it is a perfect example of coercive power. Larry Roth, I will remind you once again, as you said on that dais, it is your job to ask questions, make waves, and ensure things like this do not continue. Mayor Losner, Lori, and Max, on behalf of my family, thank you for attending my mother's funeral and showing her the respect she deserved. Stedman Stahl, David Greenwell, and the PBA, thank you for ensuring there was a police escort picking up where the chief failed. To my fellow officers, both current and retired, my heartfelt appreciation to each of you that reached out to my family and I will never forget your kindness. To the council, if you do question this injustice, prepare yourselves for the claims of lack of knowledge and omissions of truth to justify the refusal of the request for a funeral escort. If you're interested in my side of the story, you may certainly reach out to me. My number is listed on the public comment card, and several of the council persons who sit on the dais have my number and are free to share it. I welcome your calls. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Hill. Mr. Hill, are you still here?
Kim Hill. You know, Frederick Douglass once said that freedom rests in the 3 boxes in America for African Americans. That would be the jury box, the cartridge box, and the ballot box. We used that ballot box this year to be able to put the body camera initiative to try to drive forward with body cameras. And we got some leeway with some councilmen. Mr. Fletcher, you said that you would be willing to do this, but as soon as you take care of the number of officers that we have on the street. But every time I come here, when I look around, I see about 40 officers in City Hall. Last meeting, there were about 40 officers. And I'm speaking in the hyperbole. I can't give you the exact number, but let's count them out. That's nothing against it, but what I'm saying is we have to have some accountability. We just had a young lady up here talking about accountability from the police department. There are different measures to citizens. We just left Martin Luther King Day, Ms. Fairclough, and what better way to promote social justice is to be able to provide these body cameras for the disenfranchised. Now, also, I want to be able to also say that we in this particular city have to move forward. I admire the comments about diversity and everything. Now we need to look over at the city manager. As a city manager, we need to be able to provide an African American as an applicant, given the opportunities, because a zillion years we've looked and that position has been vacant. We have excellent schools in public administration, Florida A&M, FIU, and all these other places. And then we also have major cities around this country, Atlanta, North Carolina, Charlotte, Houston, where we have qualified individuals. The good old days have to be gone, and we must press forward. We can't sing "We Shall Overcome" and praise Martin Luther King unless we want to do the right things by Martin Luther King. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Regina Talbert.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's been 3 years. I've been sitting very quiet. And I just want to say to Homestead, everyone that's sitting here, you've been very nice to the community and great leaders. Also, Chief Rowe, you have been a good leader. And I think you're doing a great job. You was one of the first ones that called me. My daughter got killed 4 years ago in Florida City, 2015. And you called me, and you was concerned about what you can do to help, as well as Larry Ruff, Patricia, all of y'all that's sitting there, Jennifer. Y'all been very helpful. To the community, you have done a lot of great things. I've been knowing you most of my life, you know, and a lot of the polices that work for you, I think y'all doing a very great job. Because I have had situations where I live wasn't too great. So I just want to say to you, you're a great leader, and you're doing a very nice job for the community. And a lot of us are happy with what you are doing, all of you. And I just want to say, keep looking to God. All things are possible through him. We can't do nothing without him. And I pray for every police officer that's out here, that God keep them covered with his blood, because right now, we need him through all things. And I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing, Homestead. I love you, and I thank y'all for everything that y'all have done for the community, include when I lost my daughter. Y'all stepped right in for me. Florida City helped, and you took me on there. And I want to say thank you.
Timothy Craig.
Mayor Losner, Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers, members of the City Council, Ms. McCaffrey. My name is Timothy L. Craig. I live at 1865 Southeast 20th Avenue. I'm not as eloquent as the Vice Mayor and ex-temp speaking, so I prepared a written statement. I am amongst the other past positions I've held with the city, I am the community liaison and representative of the board of directors of the Keysgate Community Association. And it's with the approval and support of that board that is in that capacity I'm speaking tonight. For over 15 years, it has been my pleasure and honor to work with Chief Earl, Colonel Kennedy, the HPD command staff, and the numerous members of the City of Homestead Police Department. I've always found the department and its representatives to be responsive, professional, cooperative, informative, respectful, supportive, vigilant, accessible, efficient, and effective. The Homestead Police Department has been essential in protecting and securing the lives, property, and safety of the 12,000 members of the Keysgate community. The City of Homestead is most fortunate to have such an excellent police department and its fine officers, employees, and leadership to protect and serve our city and fellow citizens. I commend the members of the Homestead Police Department in the highest terms for their service, commitment, and dedication to our city and its residents. I look forward to the continuation of that service and leadership for many years to come. Thank you for your time and attention.
Kevin Selwood. And following Mr. Sullivan is Tracy Rubin.
Kevin Sullivan, 1860 Southeast 6th Court. I thought you were saving the best for last, Mayor. Last week, I was very upset with the cancellation of the Committee of the Whole and the special call meeting. I sent each and every one of you an individual email. I appreciate everybody that responded. And I'm checked with the city clerk, and I found out that the mayor, Councilman Bailey, and Councilman Fletcher had agreed to come. So we didn't have a quorum. But my question is, we got a quorum tonight because we have somebody on the phone. We've had a quorum before because people have been on the phone. Now, one of the council people wrote back that had illness or whatnot. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But there again, we have the phone. If you're under stress or that's being operated on, then they won't let you have the phone in there because you might give directions. So that, to me, was an insult to the city residents. I came up, the door was locked, no sign on the door. Luckily, there was a gentleman inside at the round. He come up and he come over and thought maybe I was homeless and needed a place to stay. But he was very nice. He opened the door up and he said, "There's no meeting tonight." I go, "No meeting? I can't believe that." He said, "Well," he said, "that's it. There's no meeting." Well, luckily, one of the city clerk's assistants must have heard my voice. Sometimes I guess I'm loud. And she came and she explained that they didn't have a quorum. So the only good thing that happened that night is I left the front of the city hall. I spotted somebody pulling into the handicap park. It was about 5:15, 5:30 meeting. And I walked over to the gentleman and says, "Don't go." He said, "What do you mean don't go?" I says, "It's canceled. There's no sense you getting out of that. You're in the handicap. No sense going to the meeting." So my question is, what the hell went on? I mean, it's crazy. We had business to conduct. You didn't feel, the ones that couldn't come, couldn't get on the phone, you didn't feel it was worth it. That's my talk for tonight.
Hey, Mr. Sullivan, before you leave, I have to address something you said and clarify an issue for people in attendance. And
What's that?
I want to address something that you said that I know a lot of people have questioned, and I want to take this opportunity to clarify a situation. And I don't want to, and I'm not going to specifically address at this part of the meeting the reasoning or what have you for anyone's failure to attend. I'm not going to second guess that. But just to be clear, we cannot create a quorum through a phone call. We can only have someone attend via phone call when we already have a quorum. So although 3 of us had committed to attend, that was not a quorum. And had either of the other 3 chosen to attend by phone, that would not have constituted a quorum.
Thank you for that information.
Thank you. Tracy Rubin. Be sure to give us your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Tracy Rubin. My address is 1025 Briar Ridge Road, Weston, Florida. I'm a property manager in Homestead. I've been working here about 16 years. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do it without Chief Roll and Colonel Kennedy. They have combined with me in a way, and my property managers in Homestead, to where we have off-duty police if necessary, and if not, response time is amazing. We have good communication. They are aware of what's going on in our communities. When our homeowners call, if they need to call, the response from the police department is just immediate. I have to say that without them, it would be very difficult to get through some of the situations that go on. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down tonight. Next speaker registered is Claudia Ochoa.
Hi. Claudia Ochoa, 2991 Southeast 15th Avenue. I live at the Crow. I've been living in that place over 14 years, 2005. My association is Tracy Rubin. We decided to take the security because it wasn't working, it wasn't safe. We have off-duty police. Thank you to you. All you guys are amazing. I'm in between the communication between the association and them. They're always on the dot. They always listen to the residents. They're always taking care of everything. They've been doing some arrests and clean up a little bit. We go in there, our community. So I appreciate that. and I'm here to, just to say thank you to all of them. Thank you.
David Flyfresher. Only because I kind of sort of knew what it was beforehand.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council. This is my first meeting to attend. I've been at one back when it was the old building, so it's quite a while ago. And so I figured I wanted to come to kind of hear what goes on with these things. I've watched one on TV as well. And I've heard multiple things said. One of them that bothers me is in particular with Chief Roll. I've been in Homestead for 46 years, 40 of which was unincorporated Dade, and I had Metro Police at the time. I understand they have a big area to cover, but the response time was a joke. And as Mr. Alger said, I've had vandalism, I've had the whole 9 yards. As a matter of fact, the holdup that he had ended up in a shootout down the street from my business at the time. I've been in the city of Homestead limits now just a little over 6 years. I've had interactions with Chief Roll for many, many years. He's always been approachable, always honest. He's never been up high and mighty. I've seen him as a level citizen, just like myself, whether it be at the ball field, whether it be at a restaurant, it doesn't matter, in or out of uniform. I've seen him many years ago. He may or may not even remember it. Back when Lee Park Chevrolet was on the corner where there's now a Walmart, get out of his police vehicle in uniform and help someone push a broken down vehicle off the road. Now, that may seem like nothing, and I appreciate every one of you guys. I don't want your job. I don't want your job. I don't want none of y'all's job, because y'all got a bullseye on your back. And you know what? We need to start supporting the police and supporting everything they do, because you know what? What they say is you police some of the people, some of the time, but not all the people, all the time. I wouldn't want their position whatsoever. But on behalf of the police and the new council up here, whatever it's worth, I will be watching, because we're pointing finger at a few particular people, so I'm going to keep an eye on all people. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Steve Moore.
Good evening, Council. My name's Steve Moore. Live at 1539 Flamingo Court, Village is a Homestead. I'm here today, and I'm glad I came, because it's for a friend. Matter of fact, I lost my father in August, and if I could have this man for my father, I would. And it's Chief Roll. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and if I had to go to war right now to be in a foxhole, it would be with the Homestead Police Department, every one of them. I work for 4-star generals, and I consider him one. He's done everything. The thing with the city of Homestead, they all complain about, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. Why doesn't he do it? It takes people to do a good job. You people do a good job. Give him the resources, him and Colonel Kennedy, because you got two of the finest people and the finest department. That's why I'm here tonight, okay? I know everybody here. I was a mailman for 20 years. You know me. You know me. You definitely know me, neighbor. Okay? Okay? I've been in Homestead quite a bit. Spent 10 out of my 20 in the Air Force at Homestead Air Force Base. So, but do me a favor, Council. Let's hold on to this man, Colonel Kennedy and Chief Roll, as long as we can, and support the police department. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Moore, You're the second person in a row who has intimated that this city or this council does not support the police department.
No.
And I think you did say you need to support them. So I think it's incumbent upon me to ask the question,
Okay.
what have you been told? What have you heard? What do you mean when you say we're not supporting the police department and not giving them the resources?
I'm talking
Because
about
you said those words tonight.
Right, I'm talking about personnel. Who has to spend the money to get these people into the academy and stuff like that? Okay? That's what I'm just saying, you know? I'm not saying totally that you don't support them, because you do. I mean, you'd be crazy if you didn't, okay? Am I right?
Well, call me crazy. But
No, I mean, I've been called crazy too. I worked in the post office 20 years. You got to be crazy, okay? No, I don't mean that you don't support them. I know you all support them, you know? That's a job, you know? I'm just saying they need the resources. People, okay? People. Computers can't go out there and get a robber, okay? It's personnel. They need personnel. And that's what's hard, you know?
Well, let me just point this out, Mr. Moore. It's a chilly night in South Florida, but as I look around this room, this is the safest and warmest place in town, because there's more heat being packed in this room than there is down at the gun shop.
You think so?
So why have all of these resources magically shown up here tonight on duty? There's something else at play here, and I'm really trying to discern what that is. You know, I wasn't here at budget time, but in August, I heard Chief Roll stand in front of the Rotary Club of Homestead and say, we're 40 officers short. I also sat in the back room when the budget was approved as a non-member of this council, and I never heard or read that $1 was asked for one new officer. Yet I know that when people reach the drop and retire, they wait a little while and they get hired back at really high salaries, and we're not inducing newcomers into the bottom end of the funnel. So I would leave all of you with this thought who have been orchestrated to be here tonight. There's two sides to every story.
Yeah, but you're the main man that runs the train. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the main person who runs the train is the woman behind the placard that says interim city manager. All right, Bishop Harris. Bishop Harris here? There she is.
Irene Harris, 18885 Southwest 296th Street. I am the president of SADMA, Southeast State Ministerial Alliance. I'm also a pastor of the Florida City area. I do give honor to each and every one of you that are here. Councilwoman Jennifer Bailey, Vice Mayor Patricia Faircloth, Mayor, and Councilman Roth, and to the new. And I'm listening. I appreciate everything that the city of Homestead is doing. And I don't know everybody personally, but I do know many of you, and I thank you for just showing love. Bailey, you accepted the black community, you stepped in and you did what your job required you to do to the community. Roth, I appreciate you. You reach out to the black community. I love that about you, and I thank you. And to Chief Roll, I'm here tonight. I got a call, and I'm here, and I'll come tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. He's a good man. I've been knowing him all my life. We growed up together. Believe me, he's much older than me. But I do know
I see him
Chief
shaking his
Roll.
head no.
He's much older than me, but I do know him. We grew up together, and he's a decent person. And he's ran this police department very well. And Yes, is it anything perfect? No. There's not perfectness nowhere. And the Bible says that if any man say that he is perfect, he is a liar and the truth is not in him. But we know the perfect one. And so to you, Chief Roll, I'm here tonight to let you know that I've called on you for the black community. Have the police department always been what the black community needed them to be? No. But they did do what they were supposed to do, and I commend every officer here, and I thank you all, and we will support anytime I call on you, and I'm in the southwest section, and I know what goes on there, and the police department handled themselves very well, and so I just want you all to know that Bishop Harris, Southeast State Ministerial Alliance President, have you all, and anytime you need us, we'll come for you because you do serve the Homestead community very well and black at large. You all deserve to be where you're at, and you are there for a reason.
Ed Powell. Nope, you're not the best for last either.
Okay, let's get rid of this. Edward Powell, 745 Southeast 18th Lane. Mr. Sullivan got up and discussed this past week's debacle, but about a special call. I'm going to go back to a month ago where we tried to have the mayor appoint a replacement for a vacant seat. Now, if you sat in that meeting, you would have witnessed something that I said is despicable. We had 4 people on one side, we had 2 people on the other side, and it wasn't going to be anything in between. There wasn't a second to it. I've heard words like diversity. I've heard words like divisiveness, okay? How many on mayor and how many are fluent in Spanish? How many are fluent in Spanish? We have 1. Okay, now why is Spanish suddenly a requirement of one of the people that was questioned, that they weren't diverse enough, they didn't speak Spanish? Now, when is that suddenly part of the process that you're going to select a replacement? And if you're going to do that, how about the next mayor election? How about the next council? You're going to have that requirement they got to speak Spanish? What about diversity? We need diversity. I'm for it. But I go down the street and I walk in when I want a job at the candy store. I walk in, I say, hey, I'm here, I'd like a job. Are you bilingual? No, I am not. Sorry, you don't qualify. Is that not discrimination, that I can't get hired because I don't speak Spanish? That is discrimination. And we have all kinds of laws about discrimination. That's one of them. The fact that I don't speak Spanish, are we going to start having agenda in 2 languages? I just came from my election training. We have three languages that we have to speak. We've got English and Spanish and Creole. Everything we do is in 3 languages. I don't see it. The next thing, no one got up and mentioned this great thing we're having this next weekend. We have across the street a rodeo, and I don't know if anybody's here to announce the rodeo, but it's one of the best things we have going in Homestead. It's been going on for years. It's a national thing. They come from all over the country. It's a beautiful thing. My wife's a Rotarian. We've been involved in all the Rotary stuff. Steve, you know as well. We have probably half a dozen things in the city that are really good. We've got the prime rib of the Rotary. We've got, Mr. Roth has the Rib Fest. We lost Ultra Music Festival because Mr. Roth and Mr. Burgess wanted to extort Ultra by making them pay for tickets. And I got that firsthand. They wanted to come here, but they weren't going to get extorted. They said, if we're going to get extorted, let's go back to Miami and get extorted up there. Thank you very much.
Is it Vianette Maria Class?
Yeah, good evening. 1881 Southeast, 13th Street, Homestead, Florida. I'm like a community person. I'm here to tell I feel secure with police because I live in a community that, in Quisque, where in every corner there's a police officer. I think they live there. So I feel secure just walking at night, doing my exercises because I come home late and I feel secure with them. I've only been here 6 years, and I know Chief Rowe from church, Homestead Church, so I'm just here to support them, and I work in the school also, so I feel very secure with the police and very happy with them. That's it.
Thank you. Brandy Ramirez.
Hi, good evening. Brandy Ramirez, 2231 Southeast First Street. Here as the president of the Women's Club of Homestead, I just wanted to come personally on behalf of our club to come and thank Vice Mayor Patricia Faircloth, Councilman Larry Roth, and also Mayor Steve Losner for your support at our recent event at the Saddled Up Scholarship for the kids, for the community. It's always glad and happy from our club to see that the community and the city support us. So I just wanted to personally come and thank you guys on that. So thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Congratulations on another successful event. It's very enjoyable. Julio Otero. Julio, are you here? Julio Otero? I'm not going to embarrass myself and try to pronounce the first name. Last name is Vandemark. Vandemark? Are you Otero? Okay.
My direction is 2752 16th Avenue. I like the police, Homestead police. My English is not very good, but I'm trying. I'm very happy with this man. I'm Hispanic. Y the police department han apoyado la comunidad latina, no discriminan y hacen un trabajo muy profesional. Thank you, everything, police. I love you and my heart.
Okay, back to Vandemark. Aye.
Hello. It's Rotze Vandemark, 2613 Southeast 19th Court. And I have been living here for 11 years, and I am also a teacher of a school here in the city of Homestead. And I can honestly say that in the world we live in, school safety is a priority. And the Homestead Police has never failed to be there for us. They're always there to advise us and to guide us in different ways we can make our schools safe. I never feel insecure or scared because we always have a Homestead Police Department officer standing in the front of our school. I believe that the great police job that's being done is a reflection of the great leadership that Homestead Police has. So thank you so much, Chief Rowe. We are so grateful for all you have done and for everything you continue to do. God bless you.
Adriana Carrasquillo.
Hello, good evening. 1532 Southeast 31st Court. I have lived here 9 years. 4 years ago, my house was robbed, broken into, and it was a really hard time for my family. But I could attest that the Homestead Police made the process so much easier, and they got all of the items that were stolen from my home back to our hands. So thank you for that. Also, I am a current college student, and I attend there at night. It could be very scary as a young woman to go there at night, but I could also say that I see the Homestead Police always being there at service and keeping me secure. So thank you for always keeping all the grounds throughout the day secure. And I appreciate Chief Roll, thank you. And I appreciate the Homestead Police devotion to the Homestead City. God bless you all, and thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Santiago.
Good evening, everyone. It's Magali Santiago, 2752 Southwest 16th Avenue. I've been living here for 12 years, and I'm acknowledged I've lost some enforcement because I was a police officer in my country. I came to say thank you. Tonight is the right night. This is the right moment to say thank you to the police department. It's not only the chief, it's the officer. The officer there, they are being commitment. They are commitment to save us and to have the honor and have the encourage and have the ability, because no one can wear that uniform. Only the one that feel the heart to serve the city, to save everyone, no matter who are, if we are white, black, Latin, it doesn't matter. It's the commitment to serve. And I want to say thank you, and thank to all the officers. Good night.
Thank you. Mr. Garza, Cipriano Garza.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Mayor, Council. My name is Cipriano Garza. I live at 101 Northeast 19th Street, Homestead. I want to come by and say thank you to all of you for the service you do to this great city of Homestead. That requires all of you to devote time with your families to be here. And for that, we are very, very grateful. Also, you have an awesome responsibility to make the right decisions and to govern, which means making the right appointments. And one of them is with Kate as hopefully a new city manager. That's important. Also, Chief Roll. I've been here almost 60 years in Homestead. I've known Chief Roll for 40 years. We're blessed, not just fortunate, we're blessed to have him as our police chief. The city is much better today than it was when I got here because of people like him. I give you many examples of what he has done to improve the city of Homestead, but let me tell you a couple of things. The department he has, talk about diversity, he started a scholarship program many years ago. We call it the Alexander Roll Scholarship Program. Every year he awards scholarship to someone who wants to go into law enforcement, mainly children who are former farm workers. We have quite a few because of that chief role. He has hired the very best. The officers here are incredible. There's a lot of work behind the scenes you don't know about that they do to make us safe. I sleep well at night because of them, and I'm grateful to all of you for making those decisions. But again, on chief role, let me tell you about, we have the mariachi group. They went to Washington, D.C. this past July to perform. Great publicity for the city of Homestead. They were short on money. These officers raised over $2,000 to make sure we cover some of the expenses. Larry Roth, you went with us, and you saw what a great performance it was. And those are the kind of things that Chief Roll does every day in and day out, to make it a better community. So I urge all of you that we must work together, make the right decisions, respect each other, and know that we're blessed, not just fortunate, we're blessed to have Chief Roll here. Mr. Mayor, thank you so very much for coming to our mariachi Christmas concert at the Seminole Theater this past December. I want to inform all of you, they're so good. They've been invited to perform at the Super Bowl pre-game activities next week. And again, that's because of all of you, the support you do with CRA. The bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, nothing is more important than be safe in this community. I walk here, I drive here safe because of Chief Roll. I urge you to make sure that we continue the right thing and keep his appointment, because he's doing a great, great job. Thank you.
Curtis Cooper. Council, any objections? Oh, many of the other previous speakers have left a lot of time on the table. Try to squeeze it into 3,
I'm doing
Mr.
my
Cooper.
best. I want to be able to take a breath, though, so I'm going to go ahead and just read from the paper. Good evening, Curtis Cooper. Address is protected. I live in Waterstone. I've had the privilege over the past 2 months to meet up with each of you to interview for Elvis's vacated seat. There were 5 candidates who submitted their lives for all of you to review in order to select the best candidate to represent Waterstone and the Malibu Bay area for the city. This is by no means an easy task, as it was a very difficult decision per Councilwoman Bailey's comment this past meeting, and I can agree. I know all too well about making tough decisions. Over the past 16 years, I have and will continue to serve the citizens of Miami-Dade County as a firefighter, paramedic, and a lieutenant. Every day I go into shift, I must make tough decisions on every call I run to achieve the best outcome for my crew, as well as the people involved in every type of situation, both known and in the unknown. For most of my career, I've served the city of Homestead working alongside some of the best police officers in the country, City of Homestead PD. I can appreciate the need for more of them as our city has grown since 2005, and the rate at which the police department has grown has not kept up with the nation's average. This has negatively affected firefighter safety, as well as police safety, as well as the residents within the city. I hope this will be an item the council addresses sooner than later. I was asked by Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers when we met up if I had any involvement with diverse people groups. This apparently is something that is important to her, as it was brought up in the previous meeting. I have grown up in Miami, and everywhere that you turn, it is diverse. There's diverse people everywhere. We are a melting pot of cultures and nations. I have learned at a young age that you treat people how you want to be treated yourself. Vice Mayor, you asked me what is one word that describes myself, and I said visionary. If anyone has ever asked that question, it's really hard to sum up who you are in just one word. After leaving that meeting, another word came to mind, and that is compassionate. You see, it takes a compassionate person or a really stupid person to risk his own life running into a place where most people run from. Serving people regardless of color, beliefs, or background, that is the diverse people group I serve. Let's talk about Waterstone for a moment. I learned a new word meeting with the council, and that is Waterstoneite. Yes, Waterstoneite. I didn't know how to take that comment at first, but I do know that if it was a definition that was described about it, it's someone who is proud to live in a community where the people like to do what they said they were going to do, maintaining the community at a very high level of service and safety for families to call home. Then I'm proud to be a Waterstoneite. I've had the privilege of representing the Waterstone community since June of 2007 was I first appointed to the South Dade Venture Community Development District. I've also been elected in November of 2008, 2012, and 2016 by the Waterstone residents of 2,269 diverse homeowners to the best of my ability I represent. You see, even though I'm one person...
Mr. Cooper, I didn't get any assent from my colleagues to give you any additional time. My apologies.
Thank you.
Is there anyone that we missed who filled out a speaker's card? I've come to the end of what I believe is my stack, but if I missed anyone, please come forward and give us your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Ted Mosinski, 2609 Augusta Drive. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, fellow residents. I'm not here to heap praises on the chief, even though he may be deserving of all of them. I'm here for different issues. The divisiveness in the city, referenced by this body at the last council meeting, was on the dais itself. It is not the city as a whole. 4 of you failed to honor your oath and the trust given to you by those that elected you. You are supposed to be an example to unite any decisiveness you perceive. You are asked to vote on a nomination for the vacant Waterstone seat. Not one of the 4 would even second that motion. We heard comments from the 4, such as, and I'm paraphrasing, we should wait to get to know this newly elected council and its dynamics first, completely ignoring the need for equal representation of the east side of Homestead. This is one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do on the council. Really? Difficult to make a simple up or down vote? Ladies and gentlemen, that's why you were elected. to make decisions. We voted you onto that dais to weigh facts, options, and then decide. It is disingenuous and, in my humble opinion, almost cowardly to shirk those responsibilities and blame the city charter, short timelines, lack of diversity, and other excuses that were put forward during that evening. If you want to be representatives of the people, then step up and do that selflessly and for the good of the whole. If you cannot meet that simple threshold, then I believe, as do many others, that you should respect the city and its residents and considering stepping down. Next, it seems you are in no rush to fill a vacant council seat. The mayor couldn't even get a quorum to move ahead, but that was explained earlier what was going on with that, so we'll skip that part. But now tonight, suddenly you are pushing for the interim city manager to become permanent with a 3-year contract. That seems absurd to me. Why are some of you on the council pushing for an immediate hiring without doing a proper search and vetting of this temporary manager and prospective applicants? No disrespect meant towards you, man. Hasn't a search been the standard here in Homestead for a number of years? I've been here for 14, 15 years now, 15 years. Seems to me there was always a search that was done when we need a new city manager. I'd like to see a search for qualified candidates and an audit conducted of the time served together by the former city manager and the interim manager. In today's world, it would be a failure of your fiduciary responsibilities to do anything less. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any further business with the city manager?
Yes, Mayor. There's just one thing. I have been provided with an email I would like to read with respect to the funeral escort, but I would first like to express my respect for the words that were spoken by those who did speak to it with regard to the value of police service, and I completely understand the importance of a police escort. I don't know Captain Johnson. My condolences for her loss, and I'm sorry she didn't have an escort. But I've been provided with an email that when that request for the detail came in, an email went out to all officers, all detectives, all reserve officers. I need 3 units for a funeral escort on Tuesday, December 31st, 2019, 12:30 to 16:30 hours. Call me if you're able to work it. And I've been advised that no one responded to the request. It wasn't refused, but no one responded to the request, and I just wanted to share that. That's all.
Thank you. Anything further from the city attorney? I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to request an executive session in the matter of Anderson v. City of Homestead. It's case number 19-014059 in the Circuit Court of Miami-Dade County, and we'll schedule that going forward. I just have to announce it publicly.
Thank you. All right. Next, reports of mayor and council. Councilman Fletcher, do you have anything to bring forward?
Nothing to bring forward at this time, Mr. Mayor, than to say Happy New Year to everyone. It is the start of a new year. We do have quite a divisive group tonight when it comes to some of the comments that were made here this evening. And as I stated back when I was elected this office about 65 days ago or so, we have to come together as a community in order to make this a better place to live for all of us. Now, there's a way we can do that. We all just have to somehow work together. There's going to be a time and place where we're all going to disagree at one point or another, okay? But we have to be able to calmly walk through those items and find a way to compromise and work forward. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Councilman Shelley, tab 13.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to bring forth discussion item tonight as far as discussion of interim city manager Kate McCaffrey and promoting her to the official city manager moving forward. A few months back, I guess before the election, we had some discussion as a council at that time. Once we found out the former city manager would be moving on to another city, how do we, I guess, put together a plan in order to provide stability and continuity for the city council and for the city moving forward? And so one of those concepts was to go ahead and pre-appoint Kate McCaffrey as an interim city manager, which we as a body had done, And so I'm bringing forth this discussion tonight kind of in the same, principle or spirit, which is to continue that stability and continuity, both from the council level, from the staff level, and even to the employee level, to give some clarity about what the city is going to look like and the leadership of that city is going to look like moving forward over the next 3 months, 6 months, year, 2 years, so that there's not any confusion about, well, who is going to be in charge and concern about their jobs or concern about, direction that they're being given. And so that's one of the main reasons. The second thing is Kate is also very familiar with all of our ongoing projects. For the last 6, 7 years, we've been working to build up our downtown, to revitalize that downtown. It's been so far, I believe, successful, but there's still a lot of projects that are in the works that need to be completed in order to put the final pieces into that process and make sure that hopefully it is long-term successful. And Kate's very familiar with all those projects. She's been working hand in hand over the last 6 years with city management, the city team, and in fact has been the lead on a lot of the major projects, especially some of them that have a lot of nuances and a lot of fine details that somebody else would not have the knowledge and would have to get up to speed on. And so that's another reason why I think it makes a lot of sense in the short term to go ahead and move Kate to the city manager position to make sure that we can complete those projects, that we don't have any delays, that we don't drop the ball anywhere, and we're ultimately able to complete that chapter in the city's rebuilding efforts and revitalization efforts. And the other thing is, too, based on my experience when I came on board back in 2009, we were going through a similar change circumstance where we had a change on council, we had change in the city manager's position, and that kind of led to a little bit of a revolving door where we had manager after manager after manager, over a 3 or 4 year period, which again destabilized, I think, the efforts and the ability for the city to operate and to function. And we've seen similar things happen, or I've seen similar things happen and related to other cities. I mean, where our former city managers went to in Delray Beach, they were going through a similar circumstance where they decided to make a change. And ultimately, it was, one manager after another, trying to find the right fit for their community. And sometimes that takes a lot of time, as well as if you're conducting a search process, that also takes time. That's at least a 3 month plus process. And as mentioned with all these projects that we have ongoing, I think that to try to have that delay or risk that delay, it could undo or it could ultimately negatively affect the momentum that we have on getting those projects completed. So I did want to at least bring this forward tonight for discussion with my colleagues so that we can provide some clarity one way or another for I think the city employees, the city staff in general of where we're going to go moving forward. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Shelley. To dispense going forward, would it be appropriate at this point for the attorney to read the resolution, and then we'll start our discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, appointing Kate McCaffrey as city manager, approving the employment agreement with Kate McCaffrey to serve as city manager, authorizing the mayor to execute the employment agreement, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Anything further from staff, from Ms. McCaffrey, the attorneys, finance?
No, I don't have anything further, Mayor.
No, sir, nothing for me.
Questions or comments from council? No questions or comments? Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I agree with everything that Councilman Shelley had indicated, and I support this item. When I thought about this, it reminded me of when Dr. Rudy Crew left the Miami-Dade County Public School System. They didn't conduct a national search. They picked from within, and that superintendent is Alberto Carvalho, the #1 superintendent in the 4th largest school district in the nation. And most recently, I thought about when Mayor Carlos Jimenez appointed Freddie Ramirez as the director of the Miami-Dade Police Department when former director Juan Perez retired. He announced it immediately. In leadership, we call this succession management, when you build the bench from within in order to lateral or promote them into these positions. So this is not unusual for government entities to do, to appoint from within. Kate McCaffrey has the qualifications, she has the credentials, she has the competency, but which is always more important to me is the skill set. She has the skill set to be able to effectuate the work in this capacity. So this is something I support. Yes, she has not been an interim city manager long. Freddie Ramirez was a deputy manager for 2 years, a deputy director for 2 years. She's been an assistant city manager for 6 years. So with that, this is something I'm very comfortable with, and I thank you, Councilman Shelley, for bringing this forward, because I will be supporting that tonight.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Fletcher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As most of you all know, I've only known Kate for about 65 days. I've come to have a very good working relationship with her up to this point, to include, very responsive timelines when it comes to getting questions answered. However, I do have an issue with approving a contract for 3 years at this point in time due to the fact that I've only had 65 days to work with this individual. I think that additional time is required for us to continue to move forward, to gather a better working relationship, and I'll state it kind of as one of my colleagues did when we were looking to appoint a council member here a month ago. There's time for us that we have to get to know each other and understand what skill sets these individuals have in order to move forward. I think she meets the criteria across the board with her education and her background and the work she's done at this city. However, I am not in agreement with approving a 3-year contract at this time until I have additional time to work with the individual. I would offer up that we have appointed her as interim city manager, that for the least amount of improvement that we could do would at least raise her pay tentative to that similar of previous city managers. When you're filling an up or leaving role, that most of the time you do get an increase in pay during that time period. So I would offer that up. But again, there's no motion on the table at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Councilman Roth? Sure. Why not?
Thank you, Mayor. I've been in this city 30 years, and I've seen more progress in the last 5 years than in the 30 years that I spent in this city. And it all has to do with stability within the government and the manager's office. I wasn't here in the turmoil on the council when we went through manager after manager after manager, but I do know that nothing got accomplished during that time. This city hall should have been built many years ago, but because of changes in regime, changes in management, changes in council, projects that were in place never got completed. I'm also a firm believer of hiring from within. People commit many years to this city, more than I have committed, but there's a loyalty that comes along with that. You know, we heard about it with the police department. The gentleman that was honored as Officer of the Month had worked his way through the system. And when you have someone who understands our city, our staff, our projects, the council, to me, it's very important that we stay with that. It adds stability, not only to the manager's office, but each department within the city. They know for the next 3 years who they will be answering to. And if it goes well tonight, that will be Kate McCaffrey. I believe that we need to encourage the employees, the staff that we have, to always strive and work your way up the ladder of success. The chief did it, the colonel did it, Kate's doing it, Pedro just did it. You know, these are all fine, fine people. They deserved it, they earned it, and they achieved it. And I believe that Kate will add that stability to our city for the next 3 years. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Fletcher, I understand your reservation completely, and I am sure would probably feel the same way if I was in your shoes. However, that's not the position that I'm in. I've known Kate for 2 years now, and I have to agree that she is not only incredibly experienced, very understanding of the job, she has a big passion and heart for our community, and somebody who was working as the right hand of our city manager for so many years. I personally cannot imagine who else would do a better job in keeping our city moving forward than her. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Sometime last week, a draft of this contract was presented to me by Ms. McCaffrey with the very relevant comment that to the effect that she knows I didn't like surprises. Well, that's true. I was kind of surprised that this permanent contract was being asked for that quickly, literally in the first week of her official tenure as interim manager. Let's just say the last month here has been quite tumultuous since the last council meeting and the efforts to schedule special call meetings. There's been a lot going on, and there came a point in time where I conveyed to her that I was not willing to bring this contract forward at this time. And unfortunately, rather than sit back and reflect, apparently she went out and solicited successfully former Mayor Shelley to bring this matter forward despite my reservations. Now, nothing I say tonight should be construed as anything negative or personal against her. But when I first focused on what was being handed to me and the magnitude of it, the words of one of my colleagues on December 19th kept ringing in my ear. And it was something to the effect of, I think this is too soon. We all need to see how we fit together and work together. And while I recognize that the majority here tonight has at least two and some, the entire tenure of Ms. McCaffrey here, which is coming up on 6 years to work with her and know her and have a rapport with her, neither Mr. Fletcher nor I, and if we ever can appoint someone to the seat at the far end of the dais, the three of us are all going to be at a disadvantage. And from where I sit, if it's not fair to appoint someone to an elected position that has very limited authority for 2 years, it's certainly not prudent for me, with very limited working relationship with the interim city manager, to give her a 3-year contract. I want the public to understand that the manager's position is, with very little exception, absolute power in this city. The council sets the policy, but the day-to-day hiring and firing and implementation of A to Z in this city is in the sole purview of the city manager. And while I respect that she's been here, she's done a good job, she has been a stellar number 2 position to Mr. Gretzis, everybody who, some people are meant to be second chair, some people can grow into first chair, and I don't know what the answer to that is. But I want to say that, and one of the reasons I had hoped to not be faced with this issue shortly is she and I have had some very frank discussions about some significant departmental issues that exist in this city. And quite frankly, I wanted to see how she dealt with it before she had a long-term contract, because that would give me a pretty good indication as to whether or not she was a professional animal or a political animal that counted votes every time she walked into this room. And I just don't know that yet. And folks, we've got big issues facing this city. And after the orchestrated love fest that we went through tonight, I have to ask, who is really in charge here? It seems that there is a shadow government at work in this city that has prevented the appointment of a representative who not only represents Waterstone and Malibu Bay, but represents this entire community. And I personally would like to see, call it probationary, call it a test, well, let's back up. Understand that the title of interim city manager only means that she doesn't have a long-term contract. She has no more or no less power, authority, and discretion, whether we call her interim city manager or madam manager or city manager. I believe that our staff is mature enough and professional enough to understand that if they all do their jobs as they've been doing, and if she does her job as the majority of this council expects her to do this job, we're not going to return to the days of 2009 to 2013, where there was chicanery and upheaval and a revolving door in many departments and in the manager's office. And really, I think our community's reputation still suffers today from those years, even though I acknowledge and we all understand that, that we've come a long way. And to echo Councilman Fletcher's concerns, I would fully support amending the interim contract to provide for the compensation and benefits that are provided for in the proposed contract in front of us. Now, let's not kid ourselves. I'm going to lose this battle, but I've got to speak to the public. That's who I answer to, is the public. And a lot of members of the public decided they wanted me in this seat speaking for them. So that's where I stand on this issue. It's nothing personal. It's nothing negative. It's nothing derogatory. I think that we can deal with the financial issues now. But as for myself, I am not ready to, let's use a pun that would be appropriate tonight, pull the trigger on a permanent contract at this time. I believe Councilman Shelley is requesting to speak. Councilman Shelley?
Yes, Mayor. Just real quick, I know that both yourself and Councilman Fletcher had somewhat utilized my comments from the last meeting, and so I just wanted to clarify to make everyone understand that yes, you may have used my words, but the purposes of those words, both at that meeting and then ultimately the proposal tonight, are in line. And that is, the stability issue is what I'm most concerned about. And so my comments at the last meeting as it related to appointment, which we'll probably discuss again later on tonight, dealt with the idea of trying to maintain stability, continuity, to not inject some new personality or somebody has new philosophies or new ideas that may be completely contrary to or different than ours into the mix. And so that's my concern with appointing immediately somebody to fill that vacancy. And so the same type of concept of how do I maintain or how do we maintain stability in the council also now applies to my philosophy with Kate. And that has to do with, again, she's already a known entity. She's a known philosophy. She's a known personality, at least to us. And I understand and do understand the concerns raised by both you, Mayor, and by Councilman Fletcher as far as not yet having enough time to maybe get familiar and comfortable with her yourself. And so I do understand that discussion and argument, but really my purpose of the comments now is just to clarify, to make sure that, you know, the philosophy here that I have is the same, which is stability. And so my comments then and my actions now are in uniform and in line, and that the main goal here is to try to maintain that stability to keep the tumultuous times that you referenced over the last month as minimum as possible, because there's going to be, as we go through change and as we all adapt to each other and figure out how we're going to work together, trying to eliminate or limit the amount of that tumultuousness is my goal here, both in my comments then and ultimately my discussion item now. So just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Shelley. Anything further from council? Ms. Mayor? Would any member of the, I'll open this item for public comment, and would any member of the public like to speak either in support or opposition of this matter?
Excuse me for a minute, I have a tad bit of heartburn. Maybe I might be having a heart attack, because what I'm witnessing right here, I'm looking at you, Ms. Faircloth. I'm looking at you, Ms. Bailey, as a woman. Opportunity. We're going to open this door to this good old boy system, our good old boy, or good old woman system, when we have tons of minorities out here dying to be a city manager. And we're not going to afford them this opportunity. You all just marched in the Martin Luther King Day parade, and you're telling African Americans that you're not going to give them the opportunity to lead. They've made the sacrifices, went to schools, burnt the midnight oil, but at the same time, we're going to continue this good old boy system. You can't tell me when the last time that we've had an African American applicant, someone to interview for this position. We're sitting up here in a community full of minorities. There are young Hispanic males and females that would love this opportunity, but we're not going to afford them. Matter of fact, there's a young, excellent white male that might be out there that needs this opportunity. But we're going to say we're going to continue this pattern. Now, I speak from this from a level of expertise, Mr. Rolfe, Ms. Bailey. I possess a political science degree, sociology degree. I work with Maynard Jackson. I work with city government in Atlanta. I know how this process goes, and I know what's supposed to be afforded to the general public. We cannot continue going and doing the same old thing all the time. This is a crime. This would be a crime if you just pass this position on to this woman, who's nothing probably but the surrogate of Mr. Gresson. It'll be a shame to all of our citizens.
Any further public comment?
My name is Darlene Polo Kramer, 2816 Augusta Drive. I was surprised to hear that Ms. McCaffrey was appointed, or the appointment was coming up today without a search. I'm an ex-process person. I can't believe that you would break the process that is normally done by a city of our size in replacing an important position like this. In fact, the city of Delray, which is similar size, hired Mr. Gretzes. I don't see why we wouldn't. I don't have any comments about her work because I don't know it, but I want to see the process followed. And I would welcome if we could put the advertisement for it in publications that normally hit the communities that are all white. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening once again. Ted Mosinski, 2609 Augusta Drive. As I mentioned earlier, you guys can't even agree on when to bring up somebody for seat 5. Yet somehow, 4 of you have decided the four, once again, has decided you're going to go ahead and ramrod this 3-year contract through tonight on short notice. And one of the things that struck me about Councilman Shelley's comments a moment ago were he talked about, well, it's been brought up about diversification numerous times tonight. He brought up the fact that, well, we're all comfortable with her, we've worked with her, we know her. Isn't that like the definition of anti-diversification? You're just going to hire somebody because you've known them for years? You're not going to consider other people? You're not going to consider other backgrounds, other experiences? Not to mention the fact, if I understood you correctly, Mayor Losner, the interim city manager went behind your back to Councilman Shelley to have this presented tonight?
But behind my back has a negative connotation. When
I'm
I
25
declined to put it on the agenda,
Well, I'm 25 years in the Navy, and I was a leader too. I've actually have groups bigger than the number of people that live in this town, and that is going behind my back. As a leader, I could never, ever trust that person again. How could any of you and Councilman Shelley on the phone ever trust someone that would go behind your back like that? Remember, you work for us. And in turn, she works for us. Or the manager's position works for us. But Mayor Losner brings up a very good point. That is the most powerful position in the city. And if we can't even trust someone to go meet with the new mayor and go behind their back with one of the holdovers, or the four as we like to call you out in town now, because you're a block, then how can we ever trust her to do her job properly? How can any of you ever trust her not to stab you in the back someday? Because believe me, as a leader of many people than any of you could ever comprehend, many more people than any of you could ever comprehend, once someone stabs you in the back, it's much easier to do it the second time. And they will take advantage of anyone else that gets in their way. Thank you.
Oh, you don't want my name? It's amazing. We all know, as you said, Mayor, it's a done deal. The Fab Four, which I coined and I've sent to every one of you, has made a decision. I sent out today, I got in the mail that I sent all to you from everybody, go out to True Homestead. It's a blog site. That site gets 10 to 20,000 hits a month. It gets more hits than the city gets. Go out there and look. There's some incriminating stuff going on between Mr. Gretzis, our former manager, and Miss McCaffrey. I don't make the judgment. There is stuff on Facebook about some conflicts between the two of them having a little business, and the fact that Mr. Gretzis, where he went to work, happens to be their city manager, happens to be the same as our city manager. And they're making comments about Mr. Gretzis and us, and that's conflicted. They've got two sources and are conflicting each other. I think there are some issues, and Mayor, we have a deep city in this city. I can't get answers from Miss Sue. She won't answer my emails. You know why she won't? Because she wants to stick it in my ear that I have to come after her. Okay? And you don't get answers. You don't get answers. This is ridiculous. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want the city to look at you folks, you four, and you're trying to run this city. This is impossible. It's ridiculous. And you've made this city a laughing stock. Too bad for you guys.
Good evening. Corrine Lowe, 2645 Southwest or Southeast 20th Court. I I want to voice my opposition for an appointment for 3 years for city manager. Nothing to do with any individual's qualifications. This is too important a position. I absolutely support upward mobility. I worked in government. It was wonderful to have a career ladder and move. And if you have if Homestead was a well-functioning, efficient, and effective governance, and the city and the community supported the actions of the council and the government, maybe an internal candidate might end up being the best choice. But we do not have an effective, efficient, operating government. It is quite broken. Folks, you have an increasingly informed and engaged constituency. We are watching, we're listening, and we will hold you accountable. We need an interim manager, and I think that's wonderful that someone's been appointed. I've had to be in those positions before, and it sucks because you get the work and you don't get the pay, but what you get is job training. And it also enables you to maybe have an edge over other people competing for the job. Let me repeat, competing so that we get the very best city manager for Homestead. And the interim city manager, you may be the absolute best and rank out on top of everybody, but we do not have that. I urge you to pause, be informed, do not sign a contract for 3 years. This position is too critical for the running of Homestead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Maria Garza, 101 Northeast 19th Street, Homestead. What a privilege to be before you this evening. As was stated before, especially by my husband, commending you for the great job that you're doing as our leaders in this great city. I've been here for more than 40 years, and I have seen the city grow in so many ways, and all good. The pain that we have gone through, seeing our city grow, those are pains because people care about this city. When you took upon yourselves to run for city council, you were giving up your life. And Mayor Lassner, you have done it multiple times, and I thank you for it. I respect your family tremendously. What I hear and what I see this evening is true democracy. Folks coming before this dais, this open mic, and expressing how we feel about our awesome city of Homestead. I believe that we are facing some incredible great times. We have faced them, and we have nothing but great, awesome times before us. Councilman Fletcher, I hear what you're saying, and you've been a councilman before as well, about hesitation and moving forward. And I like your words of unity as well as yours, Mayor, because you're leading us. You're the one taking us to the next level. I have seen this city grow, and this is the first time probably in a long time where we have had steady leadership as far as running the city, government, a city manager that really understood government and brought forth the city with the leadership of the mayor and the city and the members of the council as well. I believe that we have in Ms. Kate McCaffrey, the lady and the next city manager that will help us continue moving forward. I don't know if you choose to give her the contract for 3 years or for however long. That's your decision, and that's why we elected you, so that you can make those decisions for us. But I do believe that she has the skill set, the fortitude necessary, the wisdom to carry forward your decisions as policymakers, but to implement the city and to bring the stability that we need as well. We look forward to your leadership. We look forward to you bringing us together and really taking it beyond the words and making it real, reaching out to across the aisle, shaking hands, and doing the right things. No one asked me to be here today. I don't know what is going on behind the scenes, as you alluded to, but I want to thank Chief Roll for your incredible leadership in this city. Thank you, sir. Thank you to all the police officers for keeping us safe, but thank you for leading us as well.
Any further public comment on this matter? I'll close the public comments and entertain a motion on this resolution.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Roth.
Sorry, I thought you would ask
Please,
one more time.
I'm going to come back to comments, but
Please.
sure.
Thank you. Oh, you are coming?
Yeah, let's get a motion and a second on the table, and I'm going to have final comments.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion for approval by Councilman Roth,
Second.
a second by Councilwoman Bailey. And now I will entertain any final comments from council. And Councilwoman Bailey, you're first up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Garza, I'm glad that we ended with what you said. This is a democracy that we are seeing here. Not everybody is going to agree all the time with everything that happens. I will talk personally that I have made every single one of my decisions based on what I feel is best for our community. That is 100% the truth. You know, we need to sit up here, listen to this Fab Four. Personally, I don't like it as much as the Council, which was your last one. That was my favorite. But all I can say is that if you want to reach out and personally ask me anything, I am here. There is nothing happening behind the scenes. We have had this discussion before regarding Kate when George first announced it, because of how important it is for the city to continue some of these big programs that we have going on. So I cannot personally imagine any very impressive resume beating that of somebody who is in the middle of these programs that we have going right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Councilman Fletcher.
Yes, thank you. I want to apologize to everybody for my lack of eloquency up here this evening. I have a lot going on in this head tonight with a lot of issues personal at work and as well here at the city. But I think it's very important to say I received multiple phone calls today from city employees who are very, very supportive of the lady that you see sitting here to my left as the acting or the interim city manager. I also received calls from the citizens that are very supportive of her as well. On the counter argument to that, I received several personal phone calls where people are just not ready or want to continue business as usual with the continuation of 3-year contracts. I think it's imperative upon each of us sitting up here on this dais that we continue to look at the right people for the job, and we don't get ourselves stuck in contractual issues down the road. I will fight contracts every time I sit up on this dais. If somebody's here and they're doing their job well, they're going to remain and keep their job. I think we need to continue. As I stated earlier, I am more than amicable in increasing the salary range from the current salary to the requested salary during this interim time period. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further, Council? My final comment would be is that I don't think I've heard from anyone who doesn't like Ms. McCaffrey or who has anything negative to say about her. But I've heard from a lot of members of the public who have expressed concern about the speed at which this has been proposed and about the process. And my concern is more about the speed in which it has been brought forward than the process. I mean, clearly, from within, certainly with the magnitude of what the prior council and Ms. McCaffrey under the Gretzis administration has been through is very commendable. But, I have to draw on an analogy from last month. Somebody stated to the effect that education and resume doesn't matter. What matters is how they interact, and that is a big component of that. But let me be very unambiguous as to what I was referring to earlier. There's something more going on in this room and in this city tonight than just the contract of a city manager. After the last meeting, I asked the legitimate and appropriate question to the management staff as to why there were so many police officers with their arms crossed lined up against the back of the room, sending that silent message when it was appointment time. And I know that my wife came in and said that she counted 12 patrol cars in the parking lot tonight. And my comment was, and that doesn't count the unmarked cars that you see out there. And if there were 10 police officers here last week, there have probably been 25 or 30 in here tonight. And let's make no mistake. And again, I'll use this phrase, orchestrated love fest. But let me ask the question again, and maybe I'll get an answer tomorrow. Why is it necessary? What is going on? What's really at risk? What's really at play? Why do we have so many on-duty police officers being paid to stand in this council meeting tonight at taxpayer expense? That's the really big picture here. I wasn't elected by touting the status quo. And the approval of this contract tonight by the Democratic majority, and that's D with a little d, not a big D, not going to get partisan, is the renewal and the confirmation of the status quo of there are certain people and certain departments who are hands-off at all costs. And that's what I had hoped to see in order to delay the naming of Ms. McCaffrey. I wanted to see how she would perform. And, tomorrow, it appears she's going to have a contract. And whether or not there's any question mark over her head as to why we had the police presence here we had tonight, it's going to be in her total discretion. And as a council, there's not a lot we can do about it without a lot of expense. So we have a motion and a second for approval of the contract as submitted. And for the public, in case you didn't go online or haven't heard, I think it's appropriate that it's all public record. This calls for a base salary of $200,000 a year for 3 years with annual cost of living increases and $3,600 a month deposited into a retirement account solely at the city expense with no contribution by the city manager with a 20-week severance. So effectively, by approving this contract, we've tied the hands of the next couple of councils from parting company without paying dearly for the right to say this isn't working, let's move on. Now, having said that, those financial terms are less than the terms enjoyed by Mr. Gretzis, and those terms were requested by Ms. McCaffrey, and they are what they are, but I feel the public needs to be very clear as to the ramifications of what is apparently going to be approved tonight. So I don't see any lights asking for any further comments from council, so I'll ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this matter.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher? No. Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
No.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bailey, any business? Thank you. Councilman Roth?
Yes, just one, please.
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get the hang of this system sooner or later.
problem. Thank you, Mayor. It was brought up before, but just a reminder that the Homestead Rodeo is this weekend. Events actually are going on right now at Homestead Pavilion with the Little Miss Mr. Britches pageant. Tomorrow is the Buck Off at the Homestead Rodeo Arena. That's a free event, and you can come out and watch some of your friends ride the mechanical bull and have a good old time with that. Then Friday night starts off the weekend with the rodeo's Tough Enough to Wear Pink. If you're coming out, wear pink in support of breast cancer awareness. It's something they do every year out there on Friday night. Saturday is the rodeo parade. Starts at 11 a.m. on Chrome Avenue, one of the biggest parades we have in Homestead, along with the Veterans Parade. And then Sunday wraps up the event as we salute our military. So if you're coming out to the rodeo that day, please wear your patriotic red, white, and blue colors. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Roth. Vice Mayor Faircloth Staggers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to start off with Mr. Bass. Tonight, we voted on tabs 2 and 4. At our last meeting, I was very against those 2 agenda items because I was very passionate about the daycare being an allowable use there. But I had some time to reflect on that, and you did meet me halfway with another item to add to that restrictive covenant. So the reason I voted for that tonight was because I reflected. And at the MLK breakfast, the pastor encouraged us to reconcile differences. So that's what I did tonight. I wasn't confused on how I voted. Just wanted to let you know why I voted that way. In addition to that, I just want to say that differences do make for a better democracy in our community. And it's okay for us to disagree, but walk away from the dais still being professional. And because the public needs to know, I just want the public to know that what I've experienced this last month has been very disheartening, and it shouldn't be allowed in this time in our country. I have been threatened. I have been attacked. My character has been slandered. I have been defamed, and it is not right. I don't wish this upon anyone's wife, anyone's daughter, or anyone's granddaughter. My husband is here tonight, and I'm going to apologize to him for saying this because he didn't want me to say anything. But there is someone in this room who is perpetuating a blatant lie, and I'm going to say that, insinuating that I did not climb the ladder to success, but I've climbed a pole. And it's not right. And I'm mentioning this because I work with children in this community. And I don't want any young girl to feel as if they have to use their body to climb ladders. I was never given a stage name. I've only earned titles: principal, public servant, and the most title that I will cherish forever, and that is the title of mom. So you can continue to try to slander me. You may continue to try to discourage me from walking into my truth, but it won't happen, because a career is what you are paid for, but a calling is what you have been made for. And I've been made for this. And I will continue to walk in spirit, and I will continue to walk in truth. When I come here in love. I come here in peace. I don't come here to be attacked when I leave here. I would like to thank my colleagues who were more concerned about my health as opposed to an agenda item, because what I've experienced the past month, health-wise, has been very debilitating. So no, I couldn't have called in. because if your family member was experiencing what I was experiencing, you would have understood. I have a medical device that I have to carry with me for 24 hours a day. So no, I couldn't have called in. But I leave you with this, and this is from someone who has been encouraging me throughout this process, and I think is very fitting. It's an MLK quote. Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice and hate will soon pass away, and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities. And in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over our great nation and city in all its scintillating beauty. I pray that one day we're able to come together again, not just saying unity, but as Ms. Maria Garza said it, let's be real about it. That's all I have to say tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm glad you raised the issue of the online social media attacks. It's one thing to have political and philosophical differences as we sit here, but I denounce and deplore the personal attacks on anyone who in good faith, here or as a civic activist, no one should endure unfounded, unsubstantiated, and false personal attacks that have no bearing on the issue on the matter they have taken issue with. It's inappropriate, it's deplorable, and I would call upon everyone to have more civil discourse. And again, it can be about politics, and it can be about philosophy. And I've always said, I think we all have the same or similar goal. We may have different roadmaps. And like husbands and wives can argue about what the map says, sooner or later, we all get to the same place. And I think we're going to have that dynamic here. And we're going to have that dynamic interaction with many of you. But I would call upon those who have hurled those attacks, not only on the vice mayor, but on others, without knowing what their schedules were last week, without knowing what their family situations were, to sit back and put yourselves in their place and think about how many times you yourself have been there. Yes, have I been frustrated? I'll get over it. Life's going to go on this council, and I want to make very clear that I stand with the vice mayor and all of my colleagues against vile personal attacks. No place in this room or in this community for that. And since we've had such a trying night with the pleasure of my colleagues, can I take my business in reverse order? Let's ease back into some things and jump to the third item under my business, which is the appointments and reappointments to the Planning and Zoning Board. I'd like to name current member, who's in the middle of his term, David Lowens, who has long experience on the board as chair of the board. Name Isabel Nunez, a resident of Council Area Seat 1, and a local resident for a long time, worked in long-term businesses, and she and her husband now have their own business, and for a long time has been expressing an interest in getting involved. So Isabel Nunez as a new board member, and then Adrian Lopez from Keysgate, who has been a long-term member, several terms, had some gaps in service, but is now termed out. I'd like to draw upon his experience to have him named as an alternate member. For those of you who are counting, that leaves one of the 7 main seats open. That is a backstory. Literally, after I was elected, the first thing that a couple of the attorneys came to me and said, you gotta fill the seats on planning and zoning. We've got to have quorums. We've got to have these meetings. But based upon, some feedback we got here last month, I've encouraged Councilwoman Bailey to help identify a potential member of the board from her residential area seat. Call upon those of you who may be familiar with other qualified individuals from within that area to submit those names after consultation with them so that we can have a full complement on the Planning and Zoning Board that fully represents this entire community. So do we need a motion to approve the appointments? Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right. Sooner or later, we'll have a charter review committee. And this is not going to be the complete list, and we'll get to that, and we will not move forward, at least in the coming month. My nominee is Attorney John Moss. I have named him as someone with the utmost professional respect in this community and a veteran of two of the very early consequential charter review committees, and although he's not a resident, he's maintained an office and is a well-known activist in this community. Tim Craig is a nominee of the vice mayor. Ms. Bailey is nominated Chandra Mallory. Councilman Fletcher, Les Burke, and Councilman Shelley has named Julio Guzman, former councilman, to serve. I will serve as the non-voting chair. I had hoped that Mr. Burgess, former Vice Mayor Burgess, would have been able to serve as a regular non-voting advisory member. Upon reflection, he determined that issues in his life now, he will endeavor to attend and serve in that capacity, but not officially so. Certainly, every member of the public is encouraged to attend and express their opinion and let their voice be heard. Also, Mayor Shelley, I understand that your nominee had to withdraw, so we'll look in the next month to solicit names for non-voting advisory members from each of you, should you so desire to do so, as well as an alternate nominee from, I'm sorry, it was Mr. Roth, your nominee. Sorry. Mr. Roth, your nominee removed himself, so if we could address that in the coming weeks as well. So if I would appreciate a motion to approve those pending appointments. Moved by Councilman Fletcher. Second by Councilman Roth. Any comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And then finally, and this is not necessarily a nomination, but a discussion, I guess maybe a primer, a tutorial from the city attorneys as to how to give us some processes to choose from. And what I would like to walk away from here with tonight is a consensus as to how we move forward at future meetings to endeavor to name an individual to fill residential area seat 5. Not to do that tonight, but to come to some agreement, as I said in my nomination letter that never saw the light of a public meeting. We're in an unprecedented area. When you're on charter review, these things seem very ambiguous and not really within the realm of possibility, but here we are. So I'd call upon City Attorney Matt Pearl to go through and talk about the potential methodology, and if not tonight, sometime soon, come to some agreement as to how we will proceed. Mr. Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as you mentioned, we are in unprecedented territory. We had a codified procedure for appointment within a certain time frame. That time frame is expired, and by charter, now the ability to nominate has been spread to every member of the council. But what we do not have is a charter-mandated process for nomination by the members of the council. And so what I was hoping, and I had sent a memo to each of you, just outlining options for you to establish a process, a nomination and voting methodology, so that moving forward, everyone understands what the rules are and how we should proceed in making the nominations. And so there are a few options within Robert's rules. There are many options within Robert's rules. Several don't really apply to a small council like this. The ones with respect to nomination, you can either choose to open the floor to nominations, in which case any council member can throw out a name. Nominations do not need to be seconded when we're working in this area. Once everyone has had the opportunity to make a nomination in that manner, if there's nothing further, you'll close nominations, and then we can move forward to the options for voting. Another option to consider for nominations is you can nominate by ballot. Somebody can write their name and the name of their nominee on a sheet of paper. They would be passed to the clerk. The clerk would read them. There's no secret ballots under the Sunshine Law, so it's just a simple step. If you feel it's necessary to do it that way, you have about 10 seconds before the rest of the room knows who you nominated. But if you feel for any reason that that's something that's worth your time, you are free to do that as well. With respect to voting, you have three basic methodologies for voting. One would be a roll call, as you're used to doing. Once the nominations are closed, the nominees would be announced, and then you would go down the line. The clerk would call each of your names, and you would speak who you would like to vote for. You would make your election. You can do the same thing by ballot in the same manner. However, as I just said, there are no secrets in the Sunshine Law. The ballots would be passed down. You have to identify your name on the ballot, and the clerk would read both the name of the council member and their vote. The third methodology for voting is a simple voice vote, which is the all in favor, yeas or nays. If you elect to use that process, you can only consider, because you're saying yea or nay, a single individual at a time. Under Robert's rules, generally, if you take a voice vote, then the nominees are considered in the order in which they are nominated. If that does not work for you, if you have another methodology as you're talking through this, if you wanted to vote up and down on individuals, but don't want to have a race to the button, you're free to discuss how you would like to do that. I think a couple of points. One, I already said, nominations don't require a second, but a motion to establish your methodology would be motioned, second, and a majority of the council would vote on the methodology.
And that's what we can do tonight.
Yeah,
if we
you absolutely can do. You can do however you would like to do
Or a later
this.
meeting.
Yes. Yeah. So I want to lay out your options for you. I don't know if you want to consider this. In addition, there are certain things from a practical perspective that you might want to consider as you debate this. One is you've had an applicant pool. The charter does not restrict the council members from picking from that applicant pool. And if you were going to open up to a wider array of nominees, is that something that you're comfortable with for the time being, or would you like to restrict nominees to the current applicant pool? I think that's another discussion that's worth having. So these are sort of the parameters and the guidelines to help get the discussion started. Obviously, if you have any questions along the way, I'm happy to weigh in, but in the absence of a codified process, it's incumbent upon you to determine how you would like to do this. And so, I think the methodology they don't differ that much in terms of how you nominate and vote. The starkest difference in real process, as opposed to whether you ballot or is the voice vote, and then determining the order in which a nominee would be considered for an up and down vote, because once you have 4 votes on, you may not get to the rest of the nominees. So that's just something to consider if you're planning on doing a voice vote. So with that, I will let you all entertain a discussion and decide which direction you think is best, and I'm here to help facilitate the conversation in any way that you'd like.
Well, well, first things first, did we need to do a motion to extend at 8:30?
Are we at 8:30?
We're at 5 of 9.
Yeah, we can take a motion to extend.
Would you move to extend the meeting until 9:15?
9:15, yeah.
Motion to extend to 9:15, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. All in favor? Aye. All right. I had envisioned tonight, at the very least, well, I guess I'm looking for feedback at this point. Are my colleagues versed enough in the memo to adopt procedure for the future tonight? Or do we need to schedule this for another meeting to adopt procedure? Or what questions or concerns would you have now that maybe we can address if we have to adopt procedure in the future? Vice Mayor?
Yes. I'm comfortable with adopting procedure tonight and then having nominations at our next council meeting. So I can move forward with the process tonight.
Sure. And as an aside, so that we don't have to wait another month, if we can coordinate a moratorium workshop for next week, I was hopeful that following that, we could have a special call meeting for that purpose.
Well, I kind of wanted the process to be visible to the public, since the council meetings are recorded, as opposed to a special call meeting, but I recognize the will of the majority. I just prefer the council meeting.
Well, Madam Clerk, I know they're not broadcast live, but are special call meetings videotaped and later posted? Just audio tape. And we have no provision for that, then? Okay. And I understand that, and while I would prefer not to wait another month, we will, in light of that, I agree, the transparency and the ability to have it all on tape, I can live with that at this point. Quite frankly, I kind of like the idea of nominations by ballot.
I do too.
And then voting by ballot as well. And here's the method to my madness. Let's just say I saw it happen on other councils I served on. I'll use you and I as examples. If I see you vote one way after somebody, I'm not going to chase it, we're all standing on our own. We're not following someone else's vote. And look, as the attorney said, 5 to 10 seconds later, they're all public. But it is by ballot. We're all standing on our own 2 feet as to nominations and voting. Now, but let me clarify. If we do it that way, both nomination and election by ballot, if the 5 of us submit 3 names in nomination, there will be a ballot with the choice of one of 3 names. All right. So we don't get into that quagmire of whose name goes out first by a voice ballot. Everybody gets an equal shot.
That's true of both voice vote and roll call. I'm sorry, that's true of ballot and roll call.
Roll call, yes.
To your point, standing on your own 2 feet, ballot versus roll call. But the only instance in which you have to consider one at a time is the yeas and nays voice vote.
I'm certainly not comfortable going down that road. Now, let's say that, and it's very likely that on the first ballot for election, it's conceivable that no one will get, and let's assume 6 of us are present and they need 4 votes. the bottom one drops off and we reballot between the next two in my example?
There's just a provision for revoting until someone gets a majority generally. If that is something, if that's how you would like to handle it, that's totally
Well,
appropriate.
I think we need to have a process in place if in the event no one receives them. Now, look, we could have conceivably where there are two names in nomination where both fail 3-3.
Yes.
And we may need to decide that we're going to need to roll that over to the next meeting. I don't know. But if you had more than two nominees in play, I guess we could set the process that the next secret ballot would contain the two names.
If you so choose to do that, sure.
Would that be acceptable, Mr. Roth? You follow? Okay. Are there any other contingencies that you can think of that we need to address?
Well, so one of the issues that I want to make clear with just with respect to nominations by ballot. Now, you can do nominations by ballot, and when they're done by ballot and everyone fills that out, you sort of get a general sense of where everybody is before you even get to the voting. I want to make sure, though, that when we go down that road, if you just opened it up as a roll call, not everybody would be nominating somebody. When you go down the ballots, everyone's comfortable writing a name down for nomination. I just want to make sure that.
No, I want people.
Okay.
I would like people to affirmatively, either in writing or by roll call, preferably in writing.
Okay.
This is my vote.
Okay. And if that's I just want to make sure that that distinction is understood across the council, because if you open it up for nominations generally, and say by a roll call, well, not by roll, you just open the floor to nominations by a voice vote, then someone could throw out a name, and then no one may throw out another one. So if the goal here is to have everybody weigh in, then everyone would fill out the ballot, and that would be the nomination process, and then voting, as you said, you would drop off the bottom person to the extent you had more than two.
I envision it as having one shot at nomination.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody just writes down their
I'm
name.
looking for heads shaking one
Me
shot
too.
at nomination, one pool, one new pool.
Okay.
And let's say there are three.
Sure.
Bottom one drops out. Neither of the other two, obviously. If no one has a majority vote, you would then go to the next two.
And if you have a tie between the bottom two, or a three-way tie, which is well, no, a three-way tie is possible.
Well, you could if you had three nominees and six people.
A three-way tie is possible. Then you would vote again.
You'd have to vote again on all three, and hope that somebody changes their vote. And then in the second round, if nobody got a majority vote, you would then go head-to-head with two people. Is that correct?
Assuming somebody changed their vote and you weren't deadlocked at 2-2
Yes.
in perpetuity.
But at some point, if we keep deadlocking,
then we're
going to have to call it a night.
You're going to have to call it a night and examine the process and how you want to move forward.
So would two deadlocks be sufficient to call it a night? I'm looking to council.
I mean, that's up to you guys.
Can I just
it
weigh
depends
in a
on your
little bit?
appetite for doing this. So
Please.
Can I weigh in? Okay, so what I am comfortable with is a ballot vote. I completely agree with ballot nomination from the remaining applicants within the pool, not bringing someone from the outside. I believe they've gone through this process, they've been vetted. So I would like to restrict it to the remaining nominees that has submitted their resumes to be a part of the council.
Right. Okay. So are you including Compton or?
No, the remaining.
Well, see, he's back in, under the charter code, he is back in play.
Well, but I'm just saying what I
No,
prefer.
okay, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Because that's creating a different dynamic, and I wanted to be sure, because people will be sending us emails later asking about that.
But I wasn't finished. Can I finish? I just had another part to that. So once we establish who will be on the ballot, then if there's a process of elimination, the top two vote getters, if we have that, then we go another round of voting. If we get to two deadlocks, then I agree, we call it a night and either try it again or.
well, then you can try it again, and at that point you can also evaluate whether or not you want to consider other candidates, go on a prospective basis, we're putting the cart before the horse, but assuming that you get there and you've deadlocked and it's not going to happen, at that point, if you wanted, you could consider a number of options with regard to opening up the process and considering alternatives, and we're not there. But
But it's a valid question.
It is a valid question, but at that point, you have all of the options available to you. Is how do you want to move forward? Do you want to solicit additional applicants? You know, if you feel that maybe you can't agree on somebody in the pool, but perhaps somebody from the outside, and then you can start from scratch and solicit applicants going forward. That's up to you as to how you want to handle that. You know, if you have two deadlocks and you feel like, well, maybe we just need a breather and we want to come back and try the same pool again, same two nominees again, you can come back and do that the next month. This is you working together to define how you want to do this.
Vice Mayor, were you, let's say we winnow it down to two. Was your thought to walk away after one deadlock or after the second deadlock?
The second.
Okay,
Second.
I'm fine with that.
The
I'm
second.
fine with that.
So,
The only difference of opinion I would have with the vice mayor is that, you know, in being consistent with the charter and code, I would like all 5 applicants to be eligible for nomination. I really don't want to create that bar because, you know, we do have the provision that really we're kind of creating the rules here. And again, it's the majority, but, you know.
I can live with that.
Yeah, okay. So to recap, and everybody jump in where we're going to do a paper nomination. Sure, go ahead. Let me light you up there.
I don't have a problem with the 5 being back, but there's also a possibility that another can be added to that too. The charter can allow anybody at this point. So if I wanted Joe Smith from down the street that lives in that district, I could bring him in as well and add him to that pool, because as the way the charter reads, we can do that. Now, if we decide to just block it off to the 5, I'm okay with that too, but just, you know, so the public understands that there's still an opportunity for somebody else who does want to become a part of this process to add their name to the pool. Once we make this decision, they can't do that.
Well, and you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
'Cause I see the attorney wants to say something
Well,
also.
no, and I think Matt's kind of addressed that we do have the discretion, at least in the first round, to lock it into the applicant pool. And I think he's touched on that we're going to have to talk about what if we continually deadlock between 2 from among that pool.
Right,
We're going to have to set an arbitrary number of deadlocks and say, okay, guys, we need to open that pool up to the public. Now, I think there's got to be some fairness there in all of us having the opportunity to vet that person from one council meeting to the next, but I don't think it's fair to anybody to leave the seat open by having a deadlock month after month after month. And I think that would cover both of those situations where we're respecting the applicant pool, but recognizing that if we continue to deadlock, we may need to open that up. I think Mr. Shelley wants to chime in.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. You actually discussing where I was going to go with it. I was more interested in having a discussion on the pool itself as far as, you know, were we going to limit it to the existing applied applicants, because that was more of a rush process, you know, given the timeframes we were constrained with the charter. So did it make sense to reopen that pool up and see if there was a bigger applicant pool out there? And if so, you know, what would the timeframes, what would the process be for that? But I think you guys have now discussed a lot of those ideas. I'm okay with either or, I think, whether we stay with the existing applicants and then open up the pool later if we find that we can't find someone within the existing applicants we all agree to, or I'm also okay with coming up with a process on the front side where we, you know, but I just think there needs to be some process versus having the ability, because I think right now under the charter, you could pull somebody off the street because there's no real rules that have been set. And so I just wanted to make sure if something like that were to happen going forward, that we at least had a process to vet them, let the public know about them, get resumes. You know, everybody would know that there was still an opportunity to apply or to be an applicant. And so that was more of my comments, and I think you guys are starting to discuss that, but that would be a concern that I have, making sure we're clear on how we're going to handle that.
Thank you. We could, for example, I guess we could say that if we haven't filled the seat by April, the April council meeting, that at that point we're going to acknowledge that the pool's expanded, or is that too far in the future? And that would give us a February, March, and April meeting. We never know what our schedules are going to be, whether we'll lose a quorum. There are a lot of unknowns other than just a deadlock. So would the body be amenable to setting the April meeting as the end of the lock period for the 5-member pool?
I'm comfortable with that because it gives us 2 meetings to take a bite at the apple.
February, March, and
February, March, but the April meeting, we open up the pool for more applicants, right?
That's not what I was thinking, but if that's more acceptable.
I think that's the shorter the time frame, the better.
Right.
It gives us 2 months to get through the process. and
Right.
If we can't get through it in the March meeting, we open it up, so by
Okay.
April, we might have a new pool.
I'm fine with that
play
if
with.
we don't receive a candidate if we don't have a candidate who receives a majority vote
Right.
by the
March.
March meeting, then the nomination pool will be open to any party at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we all clear on where we're going with this?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
The ballot voting starts with an open floor discussion? Or were those 2 separate ways to go about it? The ballot
Two
will
separate
simply, okay, so
It's-
it'll just simply be ballot.
Yes, it's an either-or proposition.
So I would envision that under my business, unless it's better pigeonholed somewhere else, that will be one of my items, and the ballots will be pre-printed and circulated at that time.
I agree to have all 5 members back in the pool as well.
Are you okay with that?
Okay, so
Thank you.
I
Do
just,
you
I
need
just
a
want to
formal
reiterate
action on
what
that?
I've heard, and I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, so
Mm-hmm.
you can correct me if I'm wrong. So we want to do a paper nomination with everybody putting a name down. The clerk will read the nominations. Those nominations are restricted to the 5 current applicants. Following that, a ballot will be created with the nominees. They will be distributed. Each of you will vote on the nominees. If we are deadlocked at
Twice.
we're going to call it a day, and we'll roll that forward to the next meeting. If nobody is selected by the conclusion of the March meeting, at that point, we can get a little more specific direction from staff as to how you want us to go about soliciting the resumes and the time frame to distribute them all to you, because you had an opportunity to meet people beforehand, and I assume that would be something that you'd want to discuss. But we can address that in March if we get
What
there.
you're saying is in March, if we need to, we're going to have to
If we-
establish further process.
In terms of how you want to accept resumes, the time frame you want to open for that, and how quickly you want them disseminated amongst you, and giving yourselves an opportunity to meet with those individuals as well before the prior meeting. So
Well, here's a thought for council. We all have deadlines with respect to submitting items under our business. And the code also provides that at a CAL meeting prior to a meeting for filling a vacancy, we can allow nominees to make presentations to us. So perhaps if we find ourselves in that situation, with the advance notice that we're all required to have, and it's a little bit of deviation from the paper nomination because we're opening it up, that if any of us would envision nominating a non-pool member, then we need to put them on the CAL agenda the week prior to the council meeting in April, or May, whenever it would be.
Or you can afford that opportunity to anybody who submits in that interim time between the council meeting and the cow. You have
Mhm.
your resumes. And if it's easier, because you all have very busy
Mhm.
schedules, and I'm sure coordinating with several people for one-on-ones would be difficult, at the cow, if you chose at that point, you could have those discussions.
It avoids having to do the one-on-ones in a short time frame.
If, you could certainly do that if that's what you all want.
And that may
So
be
that's up-
a good path to
that's
follow.
up to you.
Now, in that regard, would council have any interest in inviting the members of the current pool to make a 3-minute presentation at our next CAL meeting, if they chose to do so? Would there be any interest or benefit to that?
Not for me.
Okay, just a thought. Yes, Mr. Shelley?
Sorry.
Just a clarification question, or two, I guess, questions. One is, so during the ballot nomination process, are all council members required to nominate somebody, or only nominate someone if they wish to?
It appears that the will is that everybody nominates somebody. That's what I've heard
Because
so
then it's
far.
almost like we're voting twice. You're voting for through the nomination process, and you may actually find you could have 3 or 4 votes. That's going to come out, and then you're going to turn around and vote on the actual nominations. And again, I may not want to nominate anybody, and so ultimately, I don't necessarily want to have to put a name down as a nominee if I don't want to nominate anybody in the pool. So that's why I'm asking the question: is whether it's a forced nomination or whether the nomination process.
Well,
is, whoever would like to nominate can nominate someone.
That's a very good point, and I don't know that, we could just put
Well, and
none
that-
on our paper ballot.
And that's why I wanted to, raise that early on. Is everybody comfortable? And here I got nods. I'm sorry, Councilman Shelley, you're not in the room. When I asked if everybody was comfortable writing down a name for nomination, within the room, I got nods.
Wait, we didn't follow your thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't.
But that is a very
Well,
good
and
point.
because I took that as everybody was okay writing down a name, which means if I had to decide that I want to nominate someone, I'd be okay with writing it down through that process. But I may also decide that I don't want to nominate anybody, in which case I would want to leave my ballot blank as no nominee being submitted, and then ultimately I'll vote through the process, the next process you guys have talked about. But I may not want to actually provide a nominee on the front side.
And I think that's
Yeah, that's not what I was thinking either.
Okay.
I acquiesced to having everyone on the ballot, no nominees back and forth. Everybody on the ballot,
You said,
all of the nominees on the ballot.
so you wanted to
The
vote?
five. All
No,
five
that's
on the
clear.
ballot.
That's clear.
Right,
Well,
so
no-
I'm not nominating anyone. I just want to select from a ballot. So how do we make that work?
So it's not a ballot voting, it's not a,
So you don't want to nominate by ballot, you only want to vote by
I
ballot?
want to vote by ballot.
Okay, so. Okay, so now we're.
Well, that's not what I. think
That's
we
not what I
understood
understood the
earlier.
first time through, so this is why I wanted to read
Yeah.
this out loud and make sure that we were all on the same page.
All right, but let me ask. So if there were competing nominations, they go forward to a paper ballot,
Yes,
and they don't require seconds?
no.
Okay.
So the question that I asked originally, because nominations by ballot, they are sometimes used to take the sense of the body, but they are not required for ballot voting. So if you wanted to just throw out names, you could throw out names. If those people who want, if the goal here is to have those people who want to nominate somebody
Okay.
fill something out, and because there's no, under normal procedures, under Robert's rules, there's no compelling somebody to nominate anybody. You're not forced to. You
By voice or
ultimately have
paper.
to vote.
By voice or
by
paper.
voice or paper. So
Okay.
I'm trying to make clear, we want those who want to fill out and
Paper
put
ballot.
put out a paper ballot and put in a name. Those two can be nominated. If people don't want to nominate anybody, they'll just have a blank, and that'll be fine. And then the names, you will, presuming you have a name, and not everything is blank, you'll have something to vote on. If everyone turns in a blank sheet, it's going to be a long night.
See, that's why I say just put everybody on the ballot and vote.
So You want to put, so you want to put all 5 of the applicants on a ballot and just
Put
make
them on the
those the
ballot and
nominees? Well,
At
that's,
the end of the day, there's 6 of us up there. There could be 3 potential finalists. And then we've got to go through that process of elimination.
So what I'm hearing then is paper ballot with 5 names on it, and we winnow it down from there. Is that correct?
is that the will? So we'll make, the goal is now, we'll have the 5 applicants be the 5 nominees. We will do paper ballots. And as the votes unfold, with 5, you know, there, and 6 of you, the likelihood that anybody gets 4, I have no idea, but statistically doesn't look that great. So the goal would be then, we'd just be removing the lower ones. Or if you're going to do it that way, do you just want to take the 2 top vote getters, presuming there are, and instead of whittling it down one at a time? Because you may have, in theory, you could have a vote for 5 different people.
Yeah, I said the top 2 vote getters.
I would agree with that.
Okay, so I want to make sure.
We're going to print election ballots with 5 names.
5 names. And
If we don't get 4, then the top 2.
if you don't get 4, now there could be a tie at the second tier, and then you could.
Yeah. Now, the only twist is we need to contact all 5 to ensure that they still consent to have their name in contention.
We can.
Just as a courtesy.
Yeah, if anyone wants to withdraw from consideration,
think maybe
obviously,
one would.
they're free to do that. So the voting could take a little bit longer to whittle it down, because you may have, you know, you could have a first place vote and then, you know, ties at 1 vote, 1 vote, 1 vote. So then you can have the first place person move forward, vote on the second tier to see who's going to go. So we can work.
So the nomination process is, we hereby nominate all 5 to be balloted on.
That seems to be what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Is that where we all are?
That's, okay.
Okay, so if I could have just to formalize this a little bit. If I could have a motion to direct staff to prepare ballots with all 5 nominees. This motion would nominate all 5 of the applicants to be placed on a ballot for your consideration at the next council meeting, correct?
Regular council meeting.
The next regularly scheduled council meeting. If there's no majority, if we don't have 4 votes, we'll go with the top 2. If we have a tie at the lower level, I would suggest then you have a runoff between the lower. If you have a tied with the 1, you have 1 person, let's say 1 person has 3, and then you have 1, 1, 1. You can have a runoff there for the bottom tier to see who moves on to the ultimate election. It just, by the way, by having 5 and such a limited body, there's a decent chance that that's an outcome. And so for contingent, I want to make sure everybody's comfortable moving forward in that manner. If you have a 3 and a 1, 1, 1, then, you know, the 6 of you would vote on the 1, 1, 1, and hopefully, fingers crossed,
Gotcha.
you end up with somebody with more votes than the other 2 to move forward. And I think if that's where everybody is, then that's completely acceptable, and that's, you know, we can do that. And then, as you stated, if we don't have a majority vote by the March meeting, then we can resolicit. And if we get there in the March meeting, you can decide what time frame, you know, we'll look at the calendar at that point. What time frame do you want applications submitted within? We can, you know, we'll put out a notice the next day if we get there. And then if it's a week, 10 days, you'll decide, we'll look at the calendar and try and time it based on the scheduling of the COW and council meeting going forward for April.
One final thing.
Yes.
Can we agree that if we are all 6 not here in person, the matter will not go forward?
I mean, that's up to you. You certainly can.
Well, I can't. It's difficult for me considering my health.
No, okay.
So I can't promise that I can be here because I just don't know.
Okay, that's. But if you're not here, we will await your return.
Oh, okay.
No, what I'm saying is,
Yes.
unless we're all here, we're not going to ballot. Mr. Fletcher's schedule is subject to the whims of other people, as, I know you've got pulled in tons of directions. Okay, so we're agreed that that's the process, and it will not go forward unless we are all here in person to vote.
Yes.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Thank you all.